bet you, I bet you, I bet you, I bet you. I bet you, 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 bet you, bet you, bet you, bet you, I bet you, get you, bet you, I bet you gonna ride on a horse.
Yeah. TikTok, heavy like a Brinks truck, looking like I'm TikTok, shining like a wristwatch. I'ma grab your wrist, lock it down to the thing pop. Can you stick around for a minute till the rain stop? Please God, TikTok, heavy like a Brinks truck, looking like I'm TikTok, shining like a wristwatch. I'ma grab your wrist, lock it down to the thing pop. Can you stick around for a minute till the rain stop? Please God.
As time keeps slipping away,
girl, don't start feeling away. You and I, we are one and the same. Loving your pain, loving it. As time keeps slipping away, girl, don't start feeling away. You and I, we are one and the same. Loving your pain, loving it. Give me big bucks, that is all I do. I just hit the jackpot. I wish you were here with me now so I can feel some. I wish you were here to hold me down like a real one. Wanna be a big shot, should've stayed away, but always had a weak spot. I've been on the road and I'm sorry for the mix-up. If you still love me, can you see me during next time? As time keeps slipping away, girl, don't start feeling away. You and I, we are one and the same. Loving your pain, loving it. As time keeps slipping away, girl, don't start feeling away. You and
wait, let me get the instrumental. I just need the instrumental. That's all I need.
Thank you, Joji.
And thank you, the nodules that are on Joji's throat. Hello, Aqua. Just finishing picking up this. Boy, I have been having myself a time, boy. I am telling you what. I have been in these people's cheeks and once human to the point that they are molding and making it other people's problems because they cannot be able to take accountability for themselves. It is beautiful. It's beautiful. Van der Krijgen, boys. Van der Krijgen. It's the kind of thing that makes you ask yourself, why do people get up in the morning? The real question you gotta ask yourself at the end of the day is, are they finna figure out that they can't keep doing it? I don't think they can. I don't think they can. I don't think they wanna care. I think they're gonna keep going. It's gonna be funny as hell. It's gonna be funny as hell. Funny as hell. Accountability. Accountability. It all comes down to accountability. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Yes, please, indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, please, indeed. I ain't asked for it, but they want to go towards it. They being silly, homie. They ain't being really, homie. Don't know why they mad, though. I ain't a bad, though. They being dumb as fuck. I get my drummers up. I just wanna play. Hey baby, I just wanna play all day with my video games. It's not rough for me, it's fucking stuff for me. It ain't tough for me. I get strumpstily, straight humbly. I remind that these, I got list receipts. Every time they be doing the shade, I be live on my channel and get more content to streaming for you, streaming for me. The money, and the things how they feeling the same. Cause I know that they ain't feeling no same. I ain't doing it, I feeling no shame. Cause this is so tame, cause I did nothing. Like, it's just, I don't know. I have no real way to explain it. The same way, other than I've had to explain it only to people who have been out, not jumped into it. I literally have done everything in my power that I could possibly do to help these people not get embarrassed. Okay? I've done everything I can. I've tried to save them from the incoming punishment that's going to happen to their accounts. So they're gonna get fucked over for the sheer fact that they won't stop themselves from what they're doing. That's the first problem. Second problem, I tried desperately to prevent them from having this consequence happen simply by them doing things. Because you see, at the end of the day, even if they want to be upset about things that they said and that they got upset about from themselves in a game chat, in a voice chat, they take things in the game out of the game. And then they don't take accountability from going in the game to out of the game. They can blame other people for actions they're taking. And they have to be reminded, it doesn't matter. Because it's just over and over and over and over and over and over. Because they make it other people's problems. They don't never take no accountability for nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's always me. I'm somehow responsible for them doing what they choose to do. And what's worse is that they can't control themselves to the point that the first thing they do whenever they go into the World 25 Discord that was created by somebody else, not even created by me, created by somebody else for them to work together, is to find ways to maul about me. They're now at the point where they're going to start banning them, because what else can they fucking do? You know? It's like one thing if they come to my stream, because, you know, we can just remove them. Like, it's very easy, very quick, very efficient. Half the fucking fuel for this comes from what happened the other day, actually. We were covering the Sneaker debate, and they decided to send a harassment campaign. So all I did was just clip. Then when it came to reporting it, just timestamp, Zip. Clip. Snap. Copy paste. Hey, mod. Remember how you asked me for information and examples when they do it? They did it again. Here's full VOD. Carl harassed us in game. Really, I harassed you. Do you have a VOD? Oh, I have a VOD. I have a VOD of exactly what happened. Clip, clip, clip. Here's the VOD. This is what you did. Explanations? There's never any. So, people molding, people croping, people crisking, people being upset, people wanting to do anything possible to not play the video game that's in front of them and instead try to play the game of pushing buttons with a person. It ain't working for them. It ain't working for them. It ain't working for them. Because I don't think people seem to remember that at the end of the day, I am an actor. Doing dumb shit like this on camera does not provoke the kind of thing that you think it would provoke. What it actually does is it gives the manifestation and the monetization to the person that you're doing it to. Because if the argument is, we don't like him, why are you going to the stream of a person you don't like? Then when you go to the stream of the person you don't like, why are you going to that person's stream and then acting as though they did anything other than, hey yo bro, look at how upset they are right now. There's no world where these things make sense, but this is an argument they keep trying to put forward, so it's like, I don't know, I don't think they're gonna work for you, but you know, we're gonna see what happens. Well, I think it won't happen to what I already told them was gonna happen. I tried to warn them, but you know. Anyways, news boys. Thank you, Joji. It's a beautiful day for the neighborhood, a beautiful day to be Negroes. Could you be mine? Would you roll me slime? Do-do-do-do. It's a beautiful day to get in some shits. A beautiful day to top some shits. Could you sign? Runny kind. Oh, could you be, nigga? Could you be, my nigga? Could you be my Negroes? Hello, chat. Hi. It is I, Carl, with a rough voice. Talking that lean. And I have for you today some shit that originally I would have gone live with last night, but I chose not to because editing. And I'm going live with it today because we now have lots and lots and lots of things to cover. Even some that I didn't put in the title. I'm trying my best to avoid spoilers about Deadpool and Wolverine. I might do a review of Deadpool and Wolverine. The Carl bomb is still slow dripping out there, like venom in your veins. But if you want to know, you should expect one video out by, I want to say Friday, Saturday. It's going to be a duel back-to-back. You'll also be seeing a little bit of me later tonight, depending on whenever she gets up to do it, with myself and Jay. I believe she wants us to go over the Kamala Harris shit, which is going to be a fun night of cringe. Without further ado, let's get in the news. Starting with Charlie. Now, this one I covered myself directly, but we can look at it very quickly. It was pretty much cut and seal for anybody who's witnessed. If you were there to witness it when we did it on camera, you already know the deal. If you were there to actually see the debate yourself, you already know the deal. Troy, your local fence sitter, honestly, Troy had himself not a fun time dealing with Sneeko. Sizes up, make this look better. Shouldn't look like that. Gotta fix that more. A little bit from the bottom. Should actually go this size. I can always scroll down. That's always a choice. There we go. All right, Charlie. TLDR, for you who are not aware. Charlie goes to go debate Sneeko. As we already know, Sneeko is persona non grata. He's been deplatformed from everywhere for his radical views. for repeating talking points he doesn't believe in, and effectively is known as a troll. But Charlie has never been known to be a person who has taken a strong position. He always is the person who's giving an update about a situation. He's never the person who's involved in a situation. He chose to involve himself in the situation, went into the debate, and got his ass pounded. He got manhandled. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He got manhandled. The reason why he got manhandled is that the entire time, and then revealed in his cope stream, also covered on the last stream, he demonstrated an inability to argue the position well or accurately. Sneeko, obviously, as he always does, ran to Muslim culture religion to argue the point of why arranged marriages make more sense than that of choosing to put a child through the process of transitioning. Now, the argument was made multiple times, and then was clarified, ironically enough, by Sneeko, who understands how to do this shit, that no, he was not specifically just talking about doing the process of sexual reassignment, the clip, or the snip, but specifically the entire process of how young you're willing to go. That you can go as young as 9, and a 9-year-old to a 14-year-old, which effectively would be the beginning of puberty, has the ability to argue that they can have the ability to cut off a healthy biological function from their body, but they somehow cannot, on the equivalent example, do something like have an arranged marriage. Now, of course, arranged marriages by the Muslim faith, as well as arranged marriages within the moderate Muslim faith, are different. Because in Sneeko's worldview, he's talking about the caliphate. He's talking about Wahhabism. He's talking about anti-Western Muslim follows and practices. I know them, not only because I've studied them, but in the very, very good time in which I followed them, along with my mother, you could not ever argue these two things are the same. Even within the strict caliphate, there is a clear understanding and example that everything is done through parentage. Call it what it is, because that would be actual patriarchy. But no, there is more respect towards it, because there's more protections towards all the people involved. Because there's actual honor, there's actual blood familial ties. Or as much as you could say that it's a bunch of cushion stoppers, as much as you'd like to play an Arab version of you can't. It's not reasonable, it's not rational. And the reason it wasn't reasonable or rational in the debate is that Charlie's entire position hinged on his lack of understanding of something. And anybody could have dumpstered him in that debate. Let me make that clear. Anybody could have dog-watched Charlie. The fact that it was Sneeko made it worse. There were no true winners. Because Sneeko was dumb. But Charlie looked stupider. Sneeko was dumb. But Charlie looked stupider. So, his reaction to that, after he lost, was to do what we in French have a word for. It is called de l'esprit d'escalar. My pronunciation's fucked. My throat's fucked too. Just like my woman. It's called the spirit of the stair. Or the wit of the staircase. Effectively, talking shit, mauling, coping, seething. Because of course, French people, losers as we tend to sometimes be in world politics and history, we have a word for when somebody's coping and seething. He was talking shit the entire time. And the things that he should have said in the debate, he was saying on a cope stream as he played Marvel Rivals. Then he deleted and hid the cope stream, thus further adding to the appearance of cope. Literally, it is the Chef Gustavo meme. Gets criticized once, dies. And so, in reaction to that, he has chosen to scale back his time from his podcast. He's not leaving the internet permanently. He's just leaving the official podcast and Red Thread. He wants to go on an indefinite hiatus to scale back his time that was spent on the internet. We obviously wish him the best, for everyone to respect his decision, and for all those to know that the show will always be open for him to drop by and talk shop when he wishes to return. And they are not going anywhere, the official podcast, Red Thread, and The Criminally Stupid, in spite and in light of the announcement. Now, it is my opinion that this would have been proper if he had just talked privately to his boys. So take the situation of Destiny having Avalon Preach come to his defense and effectively make a nothing burger excuse video. He should have just not said anything, had a private conversation, and then stepped away after what he did there. Then if people ask him about it, say, yep, I lost. Yep. I did not know what the fuck I was talking about. I should have prepared for a debate. I thought wrong about how I approached it. Because in his own words, he approached that shit with not an air of fucking certainty about any goddamn thing he had to say, do, or be involved in. There was no reason for him to go into that unprepared. There was no reason for him to go unaware of the arguments, for him to go in unaware of what to discuss, unaware of anything, period. This is fucking dumb, no matter how many ways you describe it. It literally can only be and only ever seen by that ratio. And it is because of that ratio that it makes it very clear, at the very end of the day, that all of this could have been avoided if he had just not gone to the debate. Why are you debating Sneeko would be the first question you ask yourself. The next question you ask yourself is, why are you getting involved with him for any particular point? Because you know what he's going to do is run away from the situation. Gish, gallop, or not. And then, lastly, if you are going to go into that debate, you should go in with preparation. You should make a spectacle out of it. You should bring along people that Sneeko knows he doesn't like. You should have an actual moderator. Because between the two of you, if you don't have a moderator who's aware of the problems, who's very, very clear on American law versus second world law, as well as caliphate law, as well as literal Sharia, then you're not going to be able to argue this shit. Because in the world of Sharia, the shit that Sneeko's arguing for, if it's moderated or if it's specifically held to the standard of realistic outcomes, if you ask him about his personal beliefs, it's not going to matter. You need to argue about what is actually reasonable and logical and would be following through on what you'd expect to see in the West. The shit you see in the East, you've got people who are being bought out by the Riyadh Caliphate that are making events for the bread and circuses of the masses because they clamor for Western politics and they clamor for Western entertainment. And they're being given it by the Saudi princes, by the Qatarian princes, by the Qatarian Caliphate. The same Caliphate, mind you, that would threaten Mia Khalifa's life because she did a porn scene with Juliana Vega and wore a fucking niqab. They're willing to execute people for incorrectly or inefficiently or disrespectfully insulting the religion, the faith, the practices, the standards, and the cultural sensibilities. But they are willing to do business with Western companies like Riot Games and Blizzard, and pretty much all of them, since they all have a hand in the Esports Cup, and regardless of whatever is said about ESL, Faceit, or the otherwise, all of these people are not being discussed. Despite Charlie being someone who is fielding multiple teams in his own orgs. He had plenty of angles where he could have decimated him. But he didn't take them. Because he didn't prepare. All he would have to do is just hold it up to the realistic standards of what's happening. The amount of effort it took for him, literally, I believe it was 2 months ago, the amount of effort it took for him to get some of his teams to go to an event, or they could not field a team for an event because of some fucking jurisdiction rules based on travel restrictions. Simple enough. Because it's a cultural difference and a cultural standard that has to be met. But Bob's your uncle. Which then brings us to the next story. DrDisrespect, boys and girls, is gripping again. He is gripping again. He's gripping right now. Boom. King me. This cryptic ass shit is fucking weird. Let me tell you why it's weird. We all live in a time period where we now know that this man, quite literally, talked to a minor. Doesn't matter how it happened. Doesn't matter how it happened. It does not matter how it happened. He is saying he's playing chess and they're playing checkers. But the fact of the matter is, there are some people out here who decided to try and jump onto this saying, "Oh my God, brother, I'm glad to see you back." I don't think that's gonna work. Maybe for him, this is the best action to keep his head down. But for me, I don't think it'll really work out. I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna have to scroll my timeline, which means I can't show you the porn. The general problem with the presentation of this is that DrDisrespect cannot come back the way that he probably wants to, simply because he can't avoid that unfortunate reality. And the other reason why he's not going to be able to come back a person who probably is going to be more invited to come back, being Sophia Narwitz. The sheer problem is there are people like the Quartering who are acting as though this is just cancellation. This is cancel culture. No. To quote Horror, nobody screwed Charlie. Charlie screwed Charlie. And nobody screwed Guy Beam. Guy Beam screwed Guy Beam. So seeing Jeremy of the Quartering, or anybody else that wants to be on his side about that, try to come in and say, yes, brother, come back with open arms. They not like us. They not like us, baby. They not like us. I don't know what the fuck is going through their heads. Even if you want to say, yeah, I'm not going to harass you about it, but you did try to talk to some kids, bro. I ain't going to hold you for it, but you did try to grip it, bro. I ain't finna grip with you, bro, but you apparently did grip and did confirm, because it was later then confirmed that this was conversations that he did have with that supposed the transgender foot person. You did do those things. You admitted that you did those things. I ain't gonna hold you on it. But be for real. And in being for real, there's a lot of things that have to be understood. You gotta hold these guys to account. Deadass. You gotta do that. Like, if we hold Ava Tyson, you also have to hold DrDisrepsect. And any person who acts as though if you go silent for a bit and then you return later, that's supposed to return you to a level of decadence and power that you had before the scandal happened. Now, of course, there are opinions out there. There are opinions out there. And we will see them, because, ironically, they're all inside of fucking Asmongold's chat. There are opinions out there that believe, it might be better, this might change. And in addition to that, we will cover both by looking into this fucking Endeavor's hiatus video. And then, of course, this Critical's opinion.
So, Moist Critical goes on indefinite high.
Bring this down for a second. Bring this up for a second. Picture in picture. Yes, sir. Mini player. There we go. There you go.
Hiatus. So here's the thing, right? Is like, I don't know if he's taking a break. So this is what he said, right?
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting.
Effective immediately, Charlie's made the decision to leave both the official podcast and Red Thread. He wants to go on an indefinite hiatus to scale back his time spent on the internet. We obviously wish him the best, for everyone to respect his decision, and for all to know that the show will always be open for him to drop by and talk shop should he wish to return. So the podcast isn't going anywhere, etc. Yeah, that's what I said, right? He's still playing videos and streaming like usual. Yeah. Now, I think that probably he probably left this podcast because like there was that one dude that was on his podcast that said a bunch of crazy shit. Like I don't really know. I don't watch the podcast. I'm not really sure. But like I heard that Kaya something like that. Like isn't that the name of Hassan's dog? But anyway, yeah, this is another one. And yeah, like I don't really know who it is. That's what I thought. And so this dude apparently caused trouble. And I'm sure Charlie probably just doesn't want to have like at this point, right? You have all these people that are mad about like that fucking about that shit he said with Sneeko, right? About like the gender assignment surgery. And so then you got like this other dude that's like saying weird shit on your podcast. At a certain point, man, you just gotta you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? So that's it. What's the squeaking sound? It's a weird thing from my fucking from the song. Sorry about that, bro. Like, yeah, that was weird. He made an obscene joke about taking pictures of 8-year-old girls. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't actually see it. I heard it. I just read the headline. I said that's weird, and so I just was like, I mean, I didn't really have an opinion of him, right? I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to get involved with like some fucking.
There's a lot in here that has to be said, and a lot of this I've already seen because I watched this yesterday. However, I'm gonna chime in. Don't worry.
Bullshit. Doc made a tweet. Yeah. Let's see the rest of this. The Sneeko thing showed that he needs to take a break. As an apologize. No, I never backtrack. I never do. Like, sometimes I'll change my mind if something new happens, right? But like overall, no, I don't like backtracking at all. But the truth is, like, I don't think Charlie. I don't know what's going on in his head. What's going on with him? I have no idea. Right? I want to talk to him a lot, so I have no idea. But here's really what's going on, right? Is like people get mad about opinions that anybody's going to have, and I think that anytime that a person is doing well, everybody is out there waiting for an opportunity to make them not do so well. And this happens with me, it happens with him, it happens with anybody. It happens with Ninja, it happens with like, and you know, Miz, XQC, Kai, fucking Jinxie. People do that with anybody who's doing well. People wanted to do Mr. Beast. Oh, there's another one, right? Because now there's some criticism of Mr. Beast that's got some weight to it, right? But before it was like, oh, he's using blind people for content. Like, get the fuck out of here. What kind of retard says that? And so the problem is that it's the people like doing this, right? And so the only way you can do this, is that if you just go and you can't give a fuck, man. That's why being a streamer sucks mental health wise. Oh, being a streamer is awful for people's mental health.
Lord have mercy. I'm accused of being a yapper, and yet nobody ever accuses Asmon of being a yapper. Not really. Alright, so I'm gonna break down a couple things that he said there. First thing, it can be annoying as fuck when dealing with the consequences of other people attacking you or dealing with you, as can be clearly seen from the experience of once Carl, twice human. There are people who are going to have words and opinions and say things and act ways, and you have to just accept that it is what it is. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Because there are people who are not gonna see eye to eye. And worse, there are people that when you tell them, okay, that's your opinion, I'm not gonna stop existing though, that it's gonna rally them to do shit. Now, in Moist Critical's case, he has been known as a permanent fence sitter. This relating to DrDisrepsect, similar. They both technically have stances that they've taken, but in the general sense, both of them have been fence sitters for the most part. You kind of have to if what you want to do is maximize your money, because you cannot have an opinion that is critical of situations, people, things. Turning the light on. Situation, people, and things where it is anything less than, here's my opinion about this person. Here's why I think they're an evil being that deserves the guillotine, basically. That's what you have to basically say and do. And the fact of the matter is, no matter how you treat the situation, no matter how you treat people in the situation, the problem is always going to remain the same. People are going to have opinions, they're going to talk the shit that they want to talk, and never shall the twain meet between sanity, reason, and reasonability. People do not have a reason to be charitable. They have a reason to be toxic, they have a reason to be obnoxious, and they have a reason to be antagonistic. Because antagonism and negativity sell higher than positivity. Always has. That's why Pokimane and Valkyrie and all these other people did not come out for the Chris Tyson shit until they were forced to. Because whether you want to call it Chris, whether you want to call it Ava, the fact of the matter is, finger. The fact of the matter is, the inability for them to deal with the consequences that is obvious to everyone. You platform the person, let them have power for the thing, blase, 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 blase. Still comes around to, everyone's got to see it now, and everyone's got to hear it now. And now, it's going to be a question in the back of everybody's head, whenever they have to consider, whether a person truly is guilty of a sin. In his case, DrDisrepsect is not just guilty of cheating on his wife twice, but he's also guilty of making a spectacle of himself to then be targeted. You blame that on that. In Critical's case, he put a target on himself for being so successful and never being in any controversy that then invites people to harass him. And this has nothing to do with anything he's actually done. It has everything to do with what people want to happen. It's not fair by any capacity. Because, to build on what he's about to say, especially about streaming is probably some of the most repugnant and annoying characteristics and characterizations that can be made of a person. Period. It doesn't matter how you view it or how you think about it. There are people who are going to have these opinions about you because you need to have reactions of snap decisions about shit that's happening on the spot. One second, I need to get something. Where the fuck did I put my sheet? Here it is. It is one of the hardest jobs a person can do, but it's also one of the most blessed things a person can do. Because at the end of the day, for all that can be said and done, streaming isn't necessarily the thing that's causing this particular happenstance for these situations. It is actually the consequence of clout. There are people that want to see drama. They want to see controversy. They want to see antagonism. They want to see negativity. They want to fuel negativity. These people will exist, they will subsist, and they will be, as I call them, cockroaches that will proliferate anywhere you could possibly find them. Yes, the only thing you can do is try to keep your head up. Don't apologize to people who do not deserve it. Do not offer apologies to people publicly or privately who do not deserve it. But at the same time, there are those that do not want to take accountability. And the accountability factor is the biggest problem. Because no matter how many times, let's use me as an example, I personally tell these people that they are embarrassing themselves. And attacking me is not going to do anything. They're going to keep doing it. You can't rationalize people out of their elephant. I shall tell you, as the son of an N-word, that Edward the N-word, as I am, the never-ending cycle ends when you remove yourself from it. Now, I can criticize that he probably should not have been there, but I can appreciate that, at least in the case of Charlie, he admits that there is a type of wrongdoing that he did, and that's that he even considered it to be something to be involved in. But on the other hand of it, when it comes to the streamer shit, this will never go away. People will continue to bring it up, because this is a feather in the cap of the most annoying kind of people you can know. The most annoying kind of people who love to take fun and the piss out of other people for the crime of existing. They will never let this go. And so, as they will never let it go, God damn it. It's gonna fall over. Yep. So, as there are people that will never let it go, the general approach to all of this, is that if you're not directly a content creator, if you have no skin in the game, you should not be engaging in this. Period. If you do have skin in the game, depending on the situations that it comes to, you should... Hey, yo. Stop that. No. None of that. None of that. You could be able to say the first thing, but none of that. But in the first capacity, if you are a streamer and you get involved in any kind of thing, you have to be willing to know where your line is. For me, with the once human shit, my line was pretty much look at how much they're doing, look at how much they're yapping, look at how much energy they're giving, and all I did was help people in the live chat and doing shit. When they got to the point of week 1, haha, it's funny. Week 2, haha, this is even funny. They're still going. Week 3, ha, that's so funny. That's so wild. They would rather be upset at me playing the game. Week 4 is what we're in now. This is a lot of harassment on these motherfuckers are committing themselves to, and there's 10 full days inside the phase. Excuse me. For phase 4. When we get to phase 5, Manimus. Phase 5. Oh, motherfuckers are still bitching at me? Motherfucker, have you not blocked me yet? That's essentially what you and any content creator that deals with a problem gotta fucking do. Because, in Charlie's case, and pretty much in the case of anybody who ever does shit like this, let's use another example from the reporting yesterday, and I'll touch up on that one real quick because we actually learned a piece of information that's very important that I talked about in political sessions last night. In the case of good old Alexander Xanderholm, formerly Pig Puncher. TLDR for the people who are uninitiated. Pig Puncher was the identity handle of Xanderholm before he became a leftist, because he used to be a person who followed and listened to a lot of content from people like pre-pregnancy and pre-married Eudaimania husband Shoeonhead, when she was still with Armored Skeptic. And most of the people inside the Skeptosphere, and a bunch of figures that have now either become authoritarians that have extreme hard rad left opinions, or the like, got bullied into becoming a member of essentially the SOCDEM class and cast of YouTube, became one of the verified numbers and names. I need a broom. There's cobwebs over you. One of the verified members of the cabal of individuals who consider themselves better than you. And then for years, as a part of the White Force Collective, the individual who forked the individual group that forked the website code of Destiny.gg to make all of their accounts, managed by White Nervosa, recently has had himself Akira Yoshikage by molding about how he wants to do violence unto Keffals and any person that he does not like, and how he considers that Cherry TV, an editor for a bunch of these people from both the left-wing political content on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and anywhere else where retarded opinions can be found and sold, and more specifically, just for his channel alone, apparently, she was doing the majority of the handling of most of the stuff that was being developed. And because of the majority of the handle of the stuff that they were doing that was being developed, this led to him having them all, because Progressive Victory, the Brianna Wu Super PAC, has now been exposed for absolutely paying streamers under the table, an illegal thing, or considering the way that it was being done, assuming that they have the current status that is allowed to do so, either very, 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 very bad, very, very, very bad, or literally fucking illegal, paying political, literally who streamers for their opinion to sensationalize and smear out stories, to make it seem as though they are a natural, progressive, up-and-coming route, and not literally quite constantly astroturfed individuals. The total payment was $4,000, and because Cherry interpolated digits and numbers into the code, he effectively got fucked out of his money. And he might go homeless? He did the meme. He did the meme of, bro, I might go homeless, ? And returned back to where he started, which was living out of a house with his mother. All of this, similar, because he put himself there in that situation, Xanderhall, getting into scraps amongst themselves because all of the BreadTube and CrumbTube and Corn BreadTube content creators are dying like rats when it comes to the majority of the shit in the algorithm, except for the biggest ones that act as kingmakers. But the similarity of that story and this story, and the point that I'm making here, is that this is something that's not going to go away for him. Xanderhall's down fucking horrendous. And because of him being down horrendous, the capacity there is that if he wants to be able to do anything at all to salvage his career, he just needs to stop fucking talking, period. He needs to stop acknowledging it, period. Because, much like Keffel saying they're gonna quit streaming again, despite how many times Keffel says that, the fact of the matter is that relativity and recency is king when it comes to news. That's why, now that it is on hiatus, unless I choose to bring it back by just myself alone running it, The Fried Chicanery did weekly news and weekly updates. Because these news and these updates are very, very important when it comes to knowing things. Because relativity and recency is what fuels the animosity of these news stories to make them more interesting or more related than they are or could be. Talking about them at length with updates is what feeds that cycle. Look to Nick Rekieta, for example. Nick Rekieta, down horrendous, but his own actions brought him there. That's why we did not want to cover that on the show, and why I kind of stayed away from covering it on my own channel. Because, yeah, I could probably have made a lot of money, but that brings a lot of negativity. And that kind of negativity to the streaming world is what can actually make this job as blessing as it is to be able to have the fun to make money and entertain people at my own regard, when I wish, how I wish, make content, make videos, do live streams, to make presentations, make appearances, and do whatever, take commissions, do extra work, write fun shit that you all fund. All of that takes effort and time and energy. And just like Horror just said in the chat, that is fun to do, but it burns you the fuck out. And we're just covering news stories we're choosing. Imagine, if you can, chat, if we covered every single bit of the drama that came through, both in the sector, out of the sector, inside of mainstream news, out of mainstream news, political shit, where it's not the kind of thing like they literally attempted to assassinate a fucking presidential candidate and former president, Lylan Air, and only after that attempt happened did the other candidate drop out of the race, leading to now Kamala being pushed as though she's anything less than a fuck-up that's supposed to be the kind of person that can slide through in her life and career by not having that same kind of controversy come to eyes, where now people are arguing whether or not she was or was not the voters are. She was. They're coping. Because they know they can't hide how retarded their party is. All these things. Same energy. Same shit. That's why most of the people who like to talk about topical news usually fuck up about the topical news. Because they don't know. They don't investigate. They don't go to learn the opinion of the other people that they're involved in. Some of the worst, quote, enemies of our channel, my channel, that have tried to make hit pieces about people either like me or literally about me, they don't learn what your actual opinions are. And even if you were to find out the actual opinions of the people who hate Asmongold or Charlie, none of that matters versus the actual optics. The optics of the situation is what people give energy into. It's what they play into. Should they do that? No. Really, they shouldn't. And because of the parasocial nature of the energy of that feeding into this, feeding and then feeding back, where you give a piece of yourself, they take from you, you give of them, they give of themselves, they give to you, that cycle never stops. Because it can't. The cycle requires that energy. And even when you're maintaining your sanity and not doing the things that you know would take even more, it still takes a piece of you. TLDR, the point. This shit could have been avoided if Charlie didn't get his ass involved in things he shouldn't have been inside of. How can he move forward? Don't do this shit. Certainly don't cope about your loss in a debate. And just keep it fucking pressing. Keep it fucking moving. Moving on. That brings us to Charlie's dumbass. Specifically, this we did go over it on camera, but to go over the pieces that are actually important, I'm going to need to go to a tweet on my timeline. Where is it? Here we are. Bing. This from the Almighty Lolly, but it's something that's already been passed around because it has to do with people like Scrump. Brianna Wu runs for Congress. She loses, but is certainly a part of a SPAC. Starts getting involved with various streamers to get more radical and vocal with their politics. Slander Hall revealed that streamers are being paid to espouse talking points for them said pack. This is a giant story. Because this, from his Mauled logs, I have messaged Brianna myself. When you are back online, we need to have a conversation about your future employment. If I am saved, it will be no thanks to you. If I am fucked, it is your fault for not making sure they paid me. You swapped the fucking numbers and they weren't able to pay me because of that. And, as you can see here, from the Gator Gamer, who is the people behind the NA Boomers podcast, even if it's dark money and it's not illegal money, this is an oopsie, a big boopy, a big oopsie. Because now the question you're going to be seeing amongst a bunch of people who talk about this particular story and situation is, are they being paid by Brianna Wu and Progressive Victory? This is probably the most relevant bit of cope shit that came out of the fucking woodworks from Slander Hall molding at the internet. Should he be doing that? I mean, he kind of has no choice but to deal with the problem because he put himself here. But is it something that is serious? It kind of is, actually. Because there's so many content creators that, because they cover the politics, you won't really know if they're one of the good ones or if their secrets have gone unrevealed and uncovered or unannounced because they have the right kind of clout, the right kind of focus, the right kind of attention to keep themselves out in the news and it not be something that they have to disagree about and have to be upend about. At the end of the day, this story, even though 4,000 in the viewpoint of the overhead doesn't seem like a lot, let's say it's 4,000 for each person that you don't know about. And this kind of relates because it has to deal with somebody who's a personal friend of mine. But there's a possibility that a bunch of the things that have been happening concerning shit like this has to do with this. And I've already told some mutuals about it. I've even told one of my reporter friends about it. It's a story that has legs that we would definitely be running this if the podcast was not on hiatus. Because this is probably, just like alongside Boogie and all his shit, is probably some of the most important things that comes into just news in general. Because if people are pushing stories specifically because they've been told to push and espouse the views of a particular group that effectively is manipulating both narratives and money with these viewpoints from this super PAC. And despite Brianna's efforts to hide her involvement with it, it is confirmed that this is happening. I could say, right here, I, SinglePlayerCarl, will never be taking money of this kind from any party if it is not something that I believe in. That does not mean you pay me next. What that means is I will take sponsorships, I will take deals, I will do business with people that do fair and good, above the board, above the table, hands on the table, business with me. Things like this is where you start questioning the actual capacity and the validity of what a person thinks and says, because are they saying it because they believe it, or are they saying it because they're getting paid for it? Heinous. 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 Absolutely heinous. And you know what else is fucking heinous? The embarrassment of Bungie getting fucking felted. Which, right there. 2 years of virtue signaling about everything except video games, and during the time, the developers aggressively attacking gamers and getting involved with do not invest, or don't even invest, DEI politics. And now, they had to fire over 200 people in extreme layoffs, because they kept investing into things like Pride and Black Lives Matter, instead of good games. Sad to see, but you know, that's their own fault. That's their own problem. And I would say the woke stuff, just alongside there with weaponized nerd rage, isn't explicitly what killed Bungie. It's upper management. And upper management pushing these things on that is what caused it with Bungie. Here, on the article, Step Down Pete. Former Bungie devs react to layoffs. Why are all my screens fucked with? And classic cars. I have no context for that message. I think the chat might have filtered something you said out. A second. Had a crazy ass dream that Brianna Wu somehow got a hold of Carl's docs. There's not much that person can really do with that docs if they really wanted to, but, you know, I invite people that want to fuck around and find out to do so. That's their choice. There you go. Oh, Carl, hold up. I am holding. I am in the upright held position. Thankfully, it was all a dream. And I was a bit away. As a 10-0, that must suck for Destiny fans. Jokes aside, I hate how every competition Warframe is in with leadership space can't spend a week without shooting its own foot. True. I'm still holding in the upright position for whatever horror needs to tell me. Oh, thank you. Ooh! From Grums. How did this avoid my eyes? Thank you, Horror. Bungie CEO said to have gotten a big payout before the layoffs, purchasing 24 cars and almost $2.5 million and showing them off to an employee shortly before letting him go. Oh, that is fucked up. See all these things? This ain't no shit you can work at in my company. Get the fuck out, loser. Wild. That's wild. Let's look at that before we look at that article. Step down, Pete. From Leon Rupert. You are Liat. Liar. Thief, and so many things we can't discuss publicly. Step down without the giant Sony payout. This is on Sony. It's squarely on the failure of leadership. Plain and simple. BNG Parsons. Auction wins. 25 cars. Protecting suites. Kappa. Ex-employee of Bungie who was laid off calls on Bungie CEO Pete Parsons to step down, says he is also a liar and a thief, and claims this isn't on Sony but Bungie leadership. Supposedly bought a whopping 24 vehicles from a single auction site since the acquisition closed in 2022, totaling $2.409 million in costs, presumably funded by what Liana refers to as the giant Sony payout. Pete privatizing his Twitter account earlier today, literally at the cusp of 325 yesterday. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That gives us even more context for what we're about to read, chat. Step down, Pete. Former Bungie devs react to layoffs. On Wednesday, the Destiny developer announced it plans to lay off 220 staff, roughly 17% of the studio. In a letter published on Wednesday, the Destiny creator cited rising costs of development and industry shifts for what it called some of the most difficult changes the studio has had to make. Rising costs of development and industry shifts, or us being retarded and not knowing how to do our jobs. Following the news, several Bungie employees took to social media to voice their anger at the decision. A large amount of backlash directed at Bungie boss Pete Parsons. Then we get the claim that came directly from her. So there was a link directly here to what she was talking about. So that's cool. Griffin Bennett, Destiny community manager, added Pete is a joke. C-Suite taking accountability for any of this is just withholding bonuses and it'll be settled in-house. Bennett wrote in another post on X. Poor leadership has crushed one of the greatest developers of all time. Retired Pete. Sam Bartley, another community manager and community coordinator, wrote, Coward, you did this, you chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with, and I don't care anymore. You lied to my face, straight to it. You also invited me to come see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off. 2 fucking days. Leave now. The letter published on Wednesday also announced the studio is working on a new science fiction game within PlayStation Studios, purchasing Bungie back in 2022. For everyone affected by the job reduction, we'll be offering a generous extra package including severance, bonus, and health coverages. Apparently, it also includes a do not work with assignment that makes them apparently toxic to the rest of the fucking community. But, you know, cars! The letter concluded by reassuring fans that Bungie's planned marathon reboot is still in development and over 800 developers are working on it in the Destiny franchise. 800 developers? You need 800 developers? 800 developers. Wet turd. Wet turd. So, you got yourself a developer that puts themselves the consequence in hand of the shit that they're involved in, that they have no business to be being involved in, because they can't be able to do their job correctly, that are making money off of people's backs and treating people like absolute fucking shit, while at the same time making absolutely no attempt to do better than this in the outcast or in the incast of what needs to be communicated amongst the general field. And that's not even mentioning the fucking failures of one of these games in that industry shift. Let's go ahead and look into one of those now. Let's go look into one of those now. To be fair, Destiny is very skin heavy, but in my opinion, I don't feel like you need 800 developers. Because then my next question is, what are those developers working on? Because if they're not working on game systems, get them the fuck off the goddamn payroll. Hire them as a contractor, at the very minimum. You don't need to have 800 people in-house unless you're talking about a very, 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 very big project. And wasn't the final shape the last DLC for Destiny 2? Are they planning to do more past that? All the sculptors and modelists keep the skin-making machine rolling? I suppose, but they could still be able to have them as contractors out-of-house rather than in-house. And if they are, then they need to make sure that they're getting the money paid to them that they deserve to have, but they're not doing more than that job. Each of the people, for what the requirements are. And knowing how Bungie's been operating and how Sony's been operating, I don't think they're handling it the best way possible. But let's go ahead and look at some of the things to do with Suicide Squad. Let's go ahead and look into Suicide Squad, shall we, chat? Did I post it up here? I hope I did. If I didn't, I'm gonna have to go find it. Suicide Squad. Hit him with the Sweeney Todd. Here we go. Suicide Squad Season 2.
Well, everyone, the day is fine.
From Luke Steffens. Everyone should watch it, chat. Should watch it. Not just because I'm putting it in front of you.
Finally come. Season 2 has just launched. I played it earlier on stream, and I have thoughts. Now, just to get it out of the way up front, yes, this game is dead. They're going to finish out the 4 seasonal updates that they've already committed to, and once those are out, they are almost certainly going to be walking away from it. Notably, Jason Schreier back in early June did a report on the game and explained kind of what went on, how the guys that were actually in charge of it, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, abandoned the studio and left like a year before its launch just because they didn't think that it was going to be very good, most likely. So
because it had been in development for 10 years plus and survived through 2 different industry shifts.
They left, leaving the studio to just fend for themselves, which is kind of slimy if you ask me. But he also mentions that many of the studio's current employees are now helping to develop a new director's cut version of Hogwarts Legacy. And at the same time, according to people familiar, the studio leaders are looking to pitch a new single-player game which would return Rocksteady to its roots. So they're almost certainly not doubling down on this. They're not gonna commit to like 5 years of support. They're walking away, and it's in hospice basically right now. Now that decision will make sense very quickly once you actually boot into the season 2 update, which I have here with Mrs. Frost. That's right. They decided to go with a gender swapped Mr. Freeze instead of like a unique character or a character that was written as like a woman or something. They've just decided to take Mr. Freeze and then turn him into Mrs. Freeze, and that's the character we have. And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Factor. Factor is...
No! Although, be dead serious, I should probably look into getting a Factor sponsorship, to be serious. I dead ass should.
The stress-free, ready-to-eat meal delivery service that gets you fresh, never frozen meals that are chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. I've used Factor for ages. For me, it's really nice to be able to just go warm one up right before stream or something, or even in the middle of a stream or filming session for a big 8-hour video or something I'm working on. They are delicious. The meals are also really good for keeping me within my caloric goals for the day because they are already put together. And they're usually really well balanced with things like veggies. So if you order the honey mustard chicken, for example, they will provide you some nice chopped up potatoes on the side, and maybe on a different meal you get some green beans. It's just really good, well-rounded meals. And as you can see in this shot of my refrigerator, I like Factor. Those meals are not even part of this sponsorship. I just have a regular membership with them, so that's just a shot of my fridge on the regular. We have an entire shelf dedicated to it. So if you're interested, check them out at the link in the video description box below or in the pinned comment. And also make sure to sign up using my promo code because you'll get 50% off of your first box of Factor meals, and you'll get 20% off of the next 4 boxes as well. Again, check them out. Links in the description, pinned comment, or scan this QR code to check them out today. Now listen, this game has multiverse stuff. They can do whatever they want. They could have a gender swapped Joker if they wanted to. Like, it's totally up to them. Nobody's doubting that they can explain it narratively.
I would argue that they shouldn't, because you should just use a better fucking case example of a better character that deserves the role. There are so many villains inside of the WB DC Universe Rogues Gallery that can fit into the universe of a Suicide Squad game, with or without the mangled writing coming from whoever you get as an affiliate or that you have as an assistant when it comes to that game. You don't. I mean this. By no means do you have to do shit to Suicide Squad. Not only do you not need to gender swap them, not only do you not need to push this out in such a way to make it seem like you should do that, but you also don't have to take a character who's male, make them female, and then give them some of the ugliest skins I've been seeing them have on the timeline. Because some of these skins, I'd fight somebody. If I was a DC fan, I'd be fighting motherfuckers for this shit.
The point is, this game was met with great skepticism when it was announced, way back in the day, years ago at this point. These additional characters have been in the works since then. So you would think that at some point they would have said to themselves, we need to have these DLC, like expansion characters. They need to be badass. They need to be so good, so compelling and interesting and crazy that people want to not just go out and like re-download the game, but like other people want to go and buy the game for the first time just to try it. But instead of really interesting, novel, captivating characters, we get Mrs. Freeze, and we also get an angsty teenager Joker, and like that's it. This is all we have so far. And here's the deal. Right off the dome, I can think of a handful of characters that are in DC canon that I think would have immediately captivated Twitter and TikTok, and people would have gotten really excited just seeing them come to the game, instead of like angsty teenager Joker and then Mrs. Freeze. For one,
well, getting them involved would have had to require them doing such thing, because the first one on the screen, Peacemaker, that would have required getting John Cena involved. You'd have to scan him into the game. You'd have to find a way to get him into this universe, etc., 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 etc. You need to have him voicing the character. You need to get a voice that's going to sound like him in the game. Like, all of this, just make a better game years back. Don't do what you guys did. Don't make a GOS service model copy of Borderlands. Make a better game.
I think if they brought Peacemaker, it would have been a layup. I think this would have popped off. Maybe they do a little deal with the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Cena, and they actually do a body scan of him, put him in the game. I think that would have been really cool. People would have been super stoked on that, I bet. Or they could have gone with Black Manta, which would be a really unique character, have all sorts of crazy cool movesets and things that he could.
Black Manta makes a lot more sense, especially considering the fact that you even have the ability to push him through, since the most recent version of Black Manta is an African American.
This could have been really compelling. Or another character that they reference in the game already with all sorts of notorious gear that you can get specifically for him and named after him. Just freaking do Scarecrow. Like, imagine Scarecrow swinging through the city like Spider-Man with his big chain hook, like the one he uses in Injustice 2. Dude, it's a layup. People would love it. There's all sorts of crazy cool stuff you could do with him. Especially tonally, he's very different from the rest of the group. It's just, like, come on, it'd be awesome. Or perhaps the character I think that would have been an absolute layup and would have gotten people super excited, especially because it works so well with the multiverse idea. This is a version of Batman that is in the lore of DC. It's called the Batman Who Laughs. And basically the idea is that it's the pure insanity of Joker mixed with the genius of Batman in a melding that creates a horrifyingly brilliant supervillain that don't give no craps and is terrifyingly capable of doing whatever he wants to do. This guy swinging through the city on chains and with laugh gas and stuff, like, this would have been an amazing addition to the cast. And yet we get this. Like it's almost like they were trying to come up with characters that would be roundly mocked on social media for one looking.
No, they were coming up with the concepts that would piss off the man-baby misogynerds. But then nobody bought the game to support the idea of we're going to harass them out of the industry. Representation is joy, guys. Remember. Toxic misogynerd man-babies. Picky babies that won't buy our games. Why would they buy this? Why would the people who support you and your ideology buy this? They know this is ass. They know this is ass.
Like an actual walking refrigerator, and then also looking like the Joker, baby. It's unbelievable that they thought this was a good idea, because no matter what you think of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I think you have to acknowledge anybody could have told them that this was going to be received poorly. If they were to do this, they were going to get crap. And the fact that they seemingly have been surprised at the feedback for these expansion characters, it's honestly all the more terrifying that they somehow thought this was going to be well received. It's genuinely unbelievable. But setting all that aside, I jumped into this on stream earlier, hoping to see some new missions, hoping that maybe they learned from season 1. After all, they delayed this seasonal update by 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks. The day before it was supposed to launch, in like early to mid-July, they delayed it to the very end of July, the day before it was supposed to launch. Really, really strange. But I was hopeful maybe they were gonna drop something really cool and crazy and blow us all away, and maybe it would start a redemption arc. Nope, that's not what's going on here. The map is basically the same as it's always been, except now there are some icy effects over different areas of it. But as you can see, this is literally just a square that they developed separately and then made like icy, and they literally just plopped it. I mean, it's almost a perfect square. You can tell that they built the little level, they imported it in here, they didn't do anything fancy to like meld it together. You can see it's right next to a beach. You know what, let's actually go over there. Yeah, here we are. You can see it's literally just the square piece that they made that they just plopped on top of everything else they already had. Like, it's just shockingly lazy. It's just sand right up to the snow and nothing else. It's unreal. Like, I understand they have a skeleton crew working on this right now, but even still, I'm just consistently blown away at how unbelievably uninteresting they've managed to make these updates. It's crazy. And speaking of the update itself, of course, it's all centered around Mrs. Freeze, who has her own unique traversal style, which is kind of what makes or breaks these additional characters. The Joker has a really unique movement style. I actually really like it, and I think it's the one saving grace of the season 1 update that they did. But Mrs. Freeze, like, you can do this little loop-de-loop thing to get a jump. You can't really get that high in the air with it, even if you time it correctly. You have to do this weird like ice wall thing by holding down right bumper, and it just doesn't shoot you up very quickly. Honestly, I greatly prefer the movement of the Joker. Like, I think him and King Shark, I don't really like Harley's movement that much, but King Shark and then Boomerang, their movement systems are just significantly better. And so I found myself...
No. He's talking about the mechanics of the game and not just talking about politics. No! Rant about Anita Sarkeesian! Quick! Complain about SPI! You're making them look bad! No, stop! Go back!
Somehow disappointed with this, because the one thing that they've done well so far, at least with the one expansion and update that they've had, was the movement with the Joker. And then this time around, it's just not that fun. Like, it just feels worse compared to what they've already done. Furthermore, there are obvious gameplay integrations they could have done with this that just don't work. For example, I thought when I saw the like promotional materials for this seasonal update, I thought that when Mrs. Freeze went and would use like this ice platform thing, I thought it would create an ice platform, since she's standing on it, that other people in the party could stand on. So you could basically create like a floating sniper nest or something for a member of your party. So like if I was here, I could maybe go out here, stretch the ice out and create a little platform for Harley to go out onto if she has a sniper rifle or something. I thought that would be super, super cool, and I was interested in seeing how they would implement that. But it turns out, no, that makes too much sense, and instead, it disappears as quickly as it appears. Like, it's really disappointing to see how quickly the ice just evaporates. Like, I understand in this case it's floating in midair, I get that, but just a little bit of Frozone action would have been cool. Like, if I anchor it here, starting there, maybe it stays supported and I can create like little bridges with it. They don't have to last forever, but just something would be nice. But speaking of nice, what isn't nice are the the outfits that they put in the game. So you see this one, the Science of Style Arkham Pack. This is literally just the Mr. Freeze outfit from Batman Arkham City, and it's just copied over here, so you can get that if you want her to wear that. That's an option. There's also this one where you can actually wear a trash bag. It's got to be one of the most unappealing and just offensive to the eyes outfits I've ever seen as a paid cosmetic. Bear in mind, this costs $10. This skin costs $10.
That's embarrassing. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, that is an Asian face model. So you didn't just make her a woman, you made her a minority!
Like, you can't even make this up. I cannot fathom a world in which somebody would think that this was worth $10. You couldn't get me to equip this onto a character if it were free. It's that offensive. Like, I'm shocked. Every one of my senses is repelled by this mustard ketchup rhubarb pie monstrosity that I'm seeing before me. But anyway, very few people are going to be buying these cosmetics and stuff, so I don't think we need to dwell on it too much. The core...
I would say that in a game that's supposed to be a game as a service, this is the same shit I mauled about in the first Descendant, and that I said was good in Once Human, even before my $5 investment experiment there. You need cosmetics. They need to be good. If it's not good, why would I ever give you my money? Because the perks inside of One Human are bad. They're really bad. I don't know who the fuck designed them. I don't know what made them think that they would be a good system for their MetaPass system, but it's bad. They're absolutely bad. They're horrendous. And the cosmetics themselves, they can't provide you gameplay bonuses, so it's only for looks. But if you're like selling in the middle of nowhere, making it look good, and you're not a content creator, why are you wasting $20 to make a structure that you're only going to see look better to yourself and not show off for the swag factor? That's half the fucking problem right there. Even inside of fucking Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, that was an entire factor, especially in Monster Hunter World Ultimate, was an entire factor that I found annoying. I only bought the skin for Monster Hunter World because I happen to like that outfit. Because me, whenever I see a female helper NPC, I just imagine it's my girl. And that gives me motivation to continue playing all day long. But like, this shit is fucking horrendous. This is repugnant. Your $10 skin looks like that? That's not even the fucking queer ones. That's not even the gay flag ones, guys.
Problem with Suicide Squad is not cosmetics. It's not even really character designs. The core problem of Suicide Squad is just that the game is frankly boring. And even in these big updates, they have done nothing to really change it at all. Like, they've added occasional tweaks to how certain encounters will trigger. They might add a different Elseworld that's decorated differently. Like, hers is all ice themed, so that's different. So I guess we can't be that mad. But even then, it's just like, all they had to do was to come along and offer something moderately different and interesting. But I think that they saw the writing on the wall well in advance of the game launching, probably after that first big delay back in 2023. And I think that they knew this game was never going to be a big success. So they took everybody off of it. They had a skeleton crew working on it. And they just decided, you know what? We'll just wrap it up, get it out the door, move on, and we'll call it good. We'll try to forget that this ever happened. And I can't frankly blame them for that, because I mean, what else are they really expected to do? The work that would be required to really turn this game around is so vast and expansive. It's just not going to be as simple as, oh, we'll just add in 1 or 2 different mission types. No, they need a total reworking. And I don't blame them for looking at it and being like, you know what? It'll be faster just to make a new game. Like, frankly, probably will be. But perhaps that brings us to the big question, which is, I'm sure, on everybody's minds. Luke, why do you keep beating this dead horse over and over and over again? It's got to be bad for your mental health, too. Like,
because you need to make an example of them. And it needs to be shown that this is a shit turd that everybody needs to have the stink smelt of, so people know, yes, that's the problem. It needs to be understood why bad it is.
Why do you keep doing this to yourself? And honestly, I think it's because, for one, people are interested. Like, it's just a...
And you see the potential of how you can fix it, and unless they act on that potential, your motivation is going to quickly drain.
Dumpster fire people can't look away from, and that's probably evidenced by the very fact that you're watching this video right now. Like, there's something in you that found this interesting, and you wanted to see what the dumpster fire was like, or I guess in this case, dumpster freezer. But, I'm sorry, that was such a bad...
To translate, morbid curiosity. People have morbid curiosity into seeing how the other half is currently suffering. Because seeing the headlines of the losses doesn't really get across how bad the game is.
Attempt at a joke. I'm sorry, please don't unsubscribe. Anyway, I think that, frankly, the reason I continue to go back to it is because, again, the most fierce opponents to games like this are usually former fans of the studio themselves. Like, the reason why I care so deeply about Rocksteady as a studio is because I know they can do so much better. Like, I've seen what they're capable of. And, frankly, it's just shockingly disappointing to see them fall so far to do all of this. Like, they are so much more capable as a developer. It is nothing short of depressing to see that this is what they spent the better part of a decade working on. It's just a waste of talent, and in some cases, creative genius, because those Batman Arkham games were phenomenal. And anybody who hasn't experienced them should absolutely go back and play them, and it will also make you all the more astonished that this is the product that they put out after making those masterpieces. But that's why I care about this, because I don't think that we should just give them a pass. I'm a firm believer that if you care about a studio, if you care about some company or set of developers, you don't help them by lying to them or pretending it wasn't that bad, it's fine, it's pretty good. I think you have to hold their feet to the fire and demand better from them. That's how you get better games. That's how you, like, encourage them to do their best work. You will not get their best work if you are just excusing it constantly. It's why
Yep. Put their nose in it.
I tend to be so hard on some of these games that I think have a lot of potential, but that just fall a little bit flat, because coddling them will not help anything. It just won't. And so I'm sure a lot of people are frustrated and like, Luke, just stop talking about it. The game sucks. I concur, but I'm not going to let them off that easy. I'm not. And honestly, so long as people are interested in seeing what the game currently is like, I'll keep making videos discussing it. I don't think I'll cover episode 2 or anything like that. I think, you know, I might do an update for season 3 because we have seen what that's going to look like. And I think that's also going to probably be met with a fair amount of bedevilment, let's just say. So maybe we'll cover that. I don't think we'll cover the episode 2 of this because it's just going to be a reskin of another Brainiac fight, but maybe we'll go back to this again. It's just at this point, there's not much to say. Every update is just more depressing than the last, and I don't think it's going to magically change or shift because, you know, more time has passed. Like, clearly they're just moving on from this and kind of giving up on it. And I can't really blame them for that, frankly. I will say it drives me freaking crazy how I've played this game through 2 seasonal updates now, and they still have these, like, basic tutorial messages popping up. You've seen them all through this video where it's like, press B to throw a grenade if you want, RT to do a melee attack. Like, the notifications for tutorials are just broken in this game, and they have been since launch, and they just don't do anything to fix it. Like, I've tried, look at that, like, slide upon landing. I know how to slide upon landing. I've done it many times. Why are they still trying to tell me these things? Like, it just drives me crazy, dude. Now, I did say that Season 3, we already know who the player character is going to be. We already know what they're doing for it, and so there's no real surprises left. And you'd be like, Luke, who is that? I'm not going to reveal that because it's data mined and, like, leaked information. It's not publicly available. They haven't announced it. So it's not really my place to share. But what I will say is it's
That's at least nice, but then again, it's not special, so you might as well.
confirmed at this point. Like, the data leak is there. We can see what the like files are, what the names of the characters are and stuff. So we know who it's going to be. And once again, it would have been so easy for them to just come in and do like something really badass, like the Batman Who Laughs, or do something crazy like Scarecrow, or any of those. But no, it's another choice that I will just say is going to leave people pretty baffled. And I think the overall response among casual superhero fans is going to be, who? And I have no sympathy for them at this point. Like, they knew that this was going to happen, and if they didn't, they're incompetent. So either way, there's no blame. Either they were incompetent, or they knew people would react poorly to this, and they said, screw them, they don't deserve to get the character that they would find interesting. And both options aren't great. But at the end of this video, I am left just as frustrated as I was when I played the Season 1 update with Joker. Nothing's really changed. Nothing's improved. If anything, they've gotten worse because player counts are even lower, and Mrs. Freeze plays worse than Joker, so there's not really much of a reason to play with her. I did do some of the Elseworld missions earlier today on stream, and those you can see footage of right now on screen. You just go to another ice world like you've seen before, and it's nothing too crazy. The Brainiac fight is, again, just a reskin of fights we've had before, fighting waves and waves of enemies. Then you have a little cutscene that plays out with Mrs. Freeze where she brings in her wife Nora, and there's some dialogue about that, and then you save Flash, and he goes back into another, like, carrier. I don't even know how to describe it because the narrative at this point is pretty much entirely nonsensical. It's just, in general, a mess. And just as if it couldn't get more cringy at the end of all of it, after you've grinded for, like, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending on your build-out, difficulty level selection, all of that stuff. You've grinded...
A 3 to 5 hour grind is not a 3 to 5 hour grind. That is a play session. Y'all's definition of a grind doesn't really satisfy me.
For hours, playing the same characters you've already played as. And then you unlock the one and only Mrs. Freeze. You get some dialogue, as I just explained, and then this little post-credit scene plays out in the style of Redfall cutscenes. I have a recording here from Ben Gunn, who just posted this up so that we could show you now, since he's actually got it recorded. And just take this in. I'm going to point something out, but keep a close eye on what's actually happening on screen, and then I'll point out some of the things I thought were weird.
The hell are you idiots doing? Get the Flash into stasis and get back to work. Wish you were always that fun, Flasher. We'll make a sidekick out of you yet.
Now, it's very quick. Very, very quick. But this is one of those times where it just feels like the people that were making this game and making these like narrative decisions had one of the weirdest senses of humor where they're trying so hard to be funny and it's just not landing. Like, okay, maybe if you save the Flash, you know, they would take little photos like this, maybe, but all of them taking the photos is like a little weird. And then, you know, they do like the Weekend at Bernie's thing where they've got sunglasses on him and they're doing this and, you know, these two don't think it's funny, but these guys think it's super funny. And then they go forward, and this is like the weirdest one to me here, where they're all kneeling and like hands clasped, like praying almost to the Flash while Mrs. Freeze tries to put him in like this chamber for preservation or whatever. I just don't know what the joke is. The other one's like they're being silly, or it's a reference to this movie or that movie. With this, I don't know. Are they supposed to be like sending him off for burial? Are they supposed to be like thanking him for being who he, or thanking Mrs. Freeze? Or something? I just genuinely don't know what the joke is, and it just leaves me more confused than entertained. And this is the story of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and all of the narrative choices that they do. In a base game where you actually watch Captain Boomerang like pee on the dead body of a member of the Justice League, and it's played up like it's supposed to be really funny, and you as the gamer are just sitting there like that's not funny. This isn't entertainment. This is just confusion. I don't get what you're trying to do. And with this,
Because it's not for you. It's not for me. It's not even for the audience who's probably played the game. It's for the people who hate chuds. It's humor for them. They're not playing the game. They didn't even buy the game. They're watching the streams of the people who are watching the people who bought the game and saying, how dare you? That's why we can't have representation. My question is, why are we representing them like this? Why do you want to be represented like that? Certainly not for the fans of heroism. Dead ass. Two minds think alike. It's a high five through the internet, Fatal.
it's the same kind of thing. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I feel like, you know, the old saying with entertainment is it's always how you leave them. It's how you leave the audience that's going to leave the lasting impression. And with this is the second to last shot in the Season 2 big launch update that's supposed to introduce Mrs. Freeze to the gamers that are making this game function, allegedly. And we're finishing on something that's just weird and baffling. Like, I know at this point we're just nitpicking, and for a lot of people it's like it's just a weird pose. They were trying to be funny and it didn't land. Don't think about it too much, but that's...
I would say that it's not a nitpick. I would say that it's the most important criticism you could give. 1 second. It is one of the most important things to the writing of a Arkham-styled video game. You need to have humor. You need to have seriousness. Without it, it's meaningless, and it's nothing.
The whole game is them trying to be funny and thinking people would react one way, and everybody reacts the other way. And that, at its core, is known as cringe. Like, the most clear definition of cringe, or example of cringe that you can point to, is when somebody tries desperately to be funny, and it's just not, but they're not in on the joke. You know, they think they're an amazing singer, but they're totally tone deaf, but they don't know that, so they keep trying to sing. You know, those are the things that lead to cringe. And with this game, it is cringe personified.
That's not cringe. That's just a person learning a skill. Cringe is when a person does something that's embarrassing that embarrasses you. That's what cringe is. Cringe is secondhand embarrassment. For the first person, it's just regular embarrassment. Cringe is secondhand embarrassment, where this person could get humiliated for something that you hate, and you're standing there and you witness this shit and you're like, ugh, I gotta walk away, they made me feel bad, ugh. That's cringe. Everybody's getting secondhand embarrassment from jokes made by hateful people who don't know how to write characters. So, it has to be an elsewhere story. Because, yeah, there are multi-universal situations and there are multi-universal stories, and there seems to be an industry trend in writing, and in writing conventions, especially for comic book shit, that you can write a multiversal story and you can justify it by saying, look, it's a different story. It's not the original character, it's a version of the character. But it's still a failure. Because it doesn't mean that it makes the dog shit acceptable or okay. It can maybe be understandable, but it doesn't make it acceptable or okay. Especially considering how poorly the characters were written. By people who clearly have an agenda on wanting to push a tactic for the relevance of money. At the end of the day, it is just never ending. Loss after loss after loss. Eventually, truly, you must pack it in. You have to. Because do you just keep taking embarrassment after loss after loss? Because, for whatever reason, you're locked in such a way that the loss is worth it? I think not. At the very least, it's about time to start washing these. At the very least, you would like to see that be invested in some kind of a way. Where you're not at the mercy of all that potential cringe. But you know, this is what they wanted to, this is what they locked themselves into. If they like it, I love it. I don't think they do. It's just sad. It's just disappointing and sad. There's no other way to say it, bro. It's just disappointing and sad.
Trying to be witty and charming and have hip characters that are designed for a modern audience. And none of it is relatable, none of it is interesting. It's all infuriatingly cringy across the board. And Rocksteady seemingly is just not in on how unfunny or unentertaining it actually is. The choice to have Mrs. Freeze instead of literally anybody else as this season's playable character. They apparently thought this was a good idea because they spent all this time in marketing pushing it. And no one else agrees. Like, I have literally not found a single person, a solitary soul, who's like, yeah, this was the pick. The Joker, a lot of people were like, honestly, I like the idea of playing as an alternative reality Joker. And I get that. I can understand that. I think that that's one that makes sense. If I was doing a roster lineup of like other alternative dimension villains to join the...
Do I think they were high-fiving and writing? Based on the reporting that I did during the two-part videos of Yaponomics, I would say no. Not the core Rocksteady team. Sweet Baby Entertainment, these motherfuckers were having an orgy. Metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically speaking. They were having an orgy. They were glazing themselves as they lied from the hands of Grant K. Roberts and the other French woman, embarrassing us as they wrote this shit. I hate the sound of the brush going through my hair. It's like sandpaper on my teeth when I thought my head. It's on the head. It's on the head. As they lied about their involvement, and what they were actually involved doing as a part of the project, I think that they were bragging. Specifically based on how she bragged about the way that they communicated their interests in the project. I'm of the belief that they might have been. Let's retie this properly. I'm of the belief that they might have been, because Grant K. Roberts, misrepresentation is joy, L.K. Bradford, and the general attitude of other people like the Lalonde black woman, which that was crazy. That's crazy saying the name of somebody from Homestuck. All of them have the mindset and the attitude of people who have fun when other people are not having fun. So I am of the belief that they were celebrating the amount of damage that they did and caused. I'm of the belief that they probably did. Does it make it cool? Does it make it acceptable? Does it make it normal? Does it normalize it? Does it justify it? Does it justify the reactions of people involved? In my opinion, it shouldn't. Not really. But it is what it is. Grant Craig Roberts was up there in front of all these people, celebrating the part that he had in doing it and writing it. And as a person who's creative, who can write something or make something that stands the test of time separate from me, you can give them that space to do so, but considering the attitude and the mindset of the people involved, I would say take it with a grain of salt, grain of sand, and treat it as it is. The waves are now unlocked, chat. At the end of the day, it is what it is, basically. That's my opinion, Fatal. It is what it is. Shouldn't be, but they were way too proud. SBI, specifically, were way too proud of being involved in this fucking dog fire.
That makes sense. With this, I just don't know who on earth would have greenlit this. And I mean, I guess they don't really know either, because the people that did greenlight it left the studio before the game launched to found a different studio, which is, it's tantamount to like, oh, our ship is sinking and we're the captains of the ship. Well, we're gonna get off the ship and go hop on that other ship and we're gonna become captains of that. Good luck, guys. Bye. That's basically what they did with this game, and I find it so reprehensible and just gross. I don't know how to hide it. Like, I usually try to be like smiles and nods and try to be cordial with people.
Well, fake positivity here is not going to be what gets you across the line, because if you try to be fake positive, you're going to be more upset.
Even if I disagree with them. But with that, you set up your company, your team of employees to fail, and you knew it was going to fail, which is why you didn't stick it out, and you left them to deal with the firestorm and crap by themselves. That's detestable. That's absolutely detestable.
But I would say that it's not just them, it would be everybody. Everybody had a hand in it. Like, tell them and say to them they left them behind, but realistically, they were being corrupted by the inside. Should they stay and burn and fall with the ship? If business is business and business ain't booming, I don't think y'all want to go down that logical line. That goes to a place where you get divested from very quickly.
Testable, and I don't know why it's not a bigger deal in the gaming community. Like the fact that people are like, well, Jimmy Hill and Stephen Walker, they're probably working on something pretty cool. I'm like, those are not people you should probably be supporting. It's unbelievable that they have just bypassed all of the blame for this. It's crazy. But anyway, at the end of all of it.
Well, again, what did I just talk about? The people who are next to the thing that has the recency are the people that command the problem. Like, it is what it is. But in their case, this is not a game that has any of the command of Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. It doesn't. It's nowhere near, bro. Like, you can say it's ruthless, but you gotta be so fucking for real, bro. You want them to take the fucking accountability for this? Especially considering that they probably didn't have a hand over the actual part of it. They took a deal that had ESG and EI on it. So they were forced to work with a group that has the power to tell them, if you don't do what we say, you don't get the money to make this game. I don't think that's a fair deal. I don't think that's a fair shake. That's his opinion, but I disagree with his opinion.
this. I have once again done a number to my brain trying to play Suicide Squad Season 2. I'm good on this one, fam. I don't think I'll be returning for Episode 2. I'm going to leave it for other people to play. All 300 current players can enjoy it, and I will wish them
300.
for Season 3.
They lost 200 players, bro. No.
What they're doing there, but until then, I'm going to go play other games that do not cause active brain damage. And I think you should too. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for making my dreams a reality every single day. I love the gosh darn heck out of every single one of you, and I am humbled that I get to do this for a living. Never ever think I take it for granted. Much love, my friends. I'll see you soon. And until then, Waller out. I'm so sorry, I had to.
I'm out. They're all resting in piss. Do I have anything else to cover? I don't think I do. Actually, there is an opinion from Harmful Opinions. Thank you for that solace.
Right, but a 9-year-old boy can go
1636. I suppose we can look at this really fast. I suppose we can. Let's look into this, shall we, chat? This will probably be the last thing before I switch over to Once Human. Let's get it on!
go into a clinic and decide that that 40-year-old doctor, can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make,
Okay.
I was originally intent to simply watch Sneeko vs. Charlie on my livestream. It was a hilarious car crash, and I was happy to leave it at that. However, Charlie's damage control video has annoyed me. You see, he doesn't just lie in his video. He engages in manipulation so heavy-handed that even people who don't know that he's lying about what happened in his discussion with Sneeko should suspect he's lying. Let's start with this. What do I mean? Well, here's Charlie bringing up Sneeko's incorrect repulsive views.
Sneeko says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18.
Oh, this must be from his thing. Hold on. Switch gears. Let's punch this shit, chat. I wouldn't have thought the fucking reaction video was gonna be that important, but nope, we gotta.
Heavens to Betsy.
Alright. Okay. Alright. Let's see Mask Off Charlie. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let's see Mask Off Charlie. Yes, his recent coat video. He did make his own response on the situation. We need to see that before we see the opinion from Harmful Opinion. Because I want to hear his own words out of his mouth.
Heavens to Betsy, what a week, huh, sports fans? Holy Toledo. Yeah, so Moist Critical is in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when Casey Houseman sacrifices himself and dies of cringe to become the moon. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. I'm in hot water, and I'm biting on the fart bubbles that pop up in the bathtub here. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today, my retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are. I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically like a cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room, and I just did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I was a big old fucking liar. Liar, plants for hire, I suppose. Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching the hair on my chinny chin, wondering, when the fuck did that happen? Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of like, Fight Club situation? But instead of like Tyler Durden, I have fucking Charles Turden here that's just making wrong announcements. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that.
Was? Ain't another wet wipe. Was? You were? You are one of the most permanently online people. It is probably the most tangential thing that can be understood and known about your presence. You are permanently online, Charlie. Your entire creation model revolves around you being permanently online. Being Mr. Pee Poo Poo Opinion Man is literally you being permanently online. You making these videos is a factor of you taking part of the social sphere of the internet. Cope.
that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, so I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think it's going to be where I hang up the jersey, even put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off in the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online, which he completely understood, so he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as Voice Critical's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet fundamentally. Don't know when I'll be back, he's done with the internet because of all this controversy, but Chewie, on his grave, he's gone. When I mean, looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, it doesn't extend beyond that. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that's what most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with, because it felt like an OG old school video that made me happy, and then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying shit like, how could you fucking deceive us? I thought you quit, huh? What happened to leaving, huh? I just read this post on Twitter from an account that had a profile pic of titties photoshopped onto Thomas Edison that said you were done, and had 50,000 likes, so I know it was true, and you're just a fucking liar. I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive fucking reaction over actual nothing burger.
No, you cannot. You are a large figure who is probably one of the many figures that has the ability to say, I made it up the right way. And while it's unfair, that is a position that you're in because of what you choose to do. That doesn't mean anything other than what that means. You shouldn't have to deal with it. I'm sorry that that's happening to you. Y'all shouldn't probably done that debate. Sorry that happened to you too. At the end of the day, probably how you should not be reacting to that. Yeah, you should probably not be reacting to this like this.
Information. And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for nothing burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you. All I did was walk away from a couple of projects. That's really it. Like, that's a pretty normal thing to do, especially when one of them I've been doing for like 8 years. I really didn't think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for how big of a story it's become with all the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought...
You also, in the debate, specifically on that topic, said, well, I didn't do enough research. So you then bent the knee even further. You were in the hand-praying position, now your face is on the ground, and the internet's boot is on top of it. You shouldn't have apologized for things that you did not need to apologize for, because there are people being unreasonable to you.
Just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone referred to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneeko, who was the main proponent, about me covering for Mr. Beast to keep the collab alive. I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneeko. So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneeko was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneeko called him out. So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked. It really was
This was exactly what was said by Asmongold, but this is an opinion that you don't need to go to specifically him, me, or anyone else for. It's obvious. So why are you still coping about it? This will look like nothing but cope.
But from that spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneeko directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is pedophile arguments, like defending pedophilia. As I've said since the very beginning of this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia, he's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to say something else. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent, he believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time, which is literally like a 15 or 16-year-old, because you get your permit at 15, your license at 16, and both are way too young to be marrying. That shit is completely unacceptable, it is downright disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was willing to hear him out on, and he said that he'd do it later because he was outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So I was willing to hear him out because, again, if there's some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that, because it'd be really fucking scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be actually advocating for adults marrying.
His level of influence. A trash can. Someone with the influence of a trash can to be making arguments that everybody already knows to ignore because it's Sneeko, the man who has no opinion of his own. But then again, that's a debate of two people who didn't have opinions of their own. We have the permanent dick rider and the permanent fence sitter from the East.
And fucking children. That's a huge problem. That's a big fucking problem. So if there was something that he was like trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from. The debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dogshit debates I think human beings have ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had no idea.
Him talking. You, as a person who deals with shit publicly, thought that you were going to talk to one of the biggest known content troll lolcows, and that he was not going to record it? Nigga.
this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There's nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to like explain to people like, no, he's not actually a pedophile defender or advocating for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed, especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me, that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never claimed to be one. I never want to be a debater. I've always said that I believe
you don't have the capacity to be a debater. You do not do enough information to research things. You always talk about situations as they're coming off. You are never the person who's presenting the story with every single piece of the details and facets. Even if you were to do so, I would not trust you to do so, because anytime you talk about a situation, it is when it's already gone to its wild fever pitch, and people are then going to the popular content creators to be the ones to tell them what they should know, and then they ignore anything that you didn't talk about.
Conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong. Whereas a conversation is very different.
The problem with that's already wrong on the face of it, but a debate, if it's to be had, is to demonstrate actually three things. Number one, you're demonstrating the head level of two people. If one person comes in hot and angry, and then through the conversation progressively cools down, that means they were speaking from emotion, not from rational sense. A person with rational sense is prepared. A person who has rational sense and is doing so from an example base is saying, when you did this at this date on this recording from this stream. I'll give you an example. There is a 4-hour something odd recording, which can be found inside of my content feed from Stream Manager, as well as on the channel. I will go look for them very quickly. 1 second. And I will show them to you, because this is actually a really good example of exactly what I'm talking about. Here we are. I believe this is the one. So, here in the VODs, I'll turn off the crop. Here in the VODs, inside my backend, as it's fading out, because this should be the correct one, 4:53:30. On July 20th, I was engaged by a person. Witnesses. By the name of Eros XOX. Basically, Eros Hugs and Kisses. From the One Team in Discord. Or rather, inside the World 25 One Team in Discord. Because, in this particular situation at that week, this was beginning of week 3, he had been doing Prime Wars, where it was without any communication, because this is during when I was still under a chat restriction, that no one was asking questions, no one knew who was doing what was designing what, who was setting up what, in a PvE server where we all have to do the events collectively, in a group opportunity of 40 people. Little to no information communicated amongst those people in the chat room to get things done, and the appearance of behavior that we thought at the time was somebody inherently doing something to benefit themselves and no one else, because I, being one of the people who actually read shit in preparation of the game, knew that the person who is leading the scoreboard is the person who can get the highest benefit and reward that comes from doing the event. And is also necessary to do the event, because that is how you get to the next difficulty level. They have recently since brought this down, and since this debate and conversation, he and I, to the best of my knowledge, are supposedly on neutral terms. But you can hear this from the beginning of this clip.
You responded to that one thing, but you didn't respond to the rest of it.
Oh, listen. We'll just go to here because I have it as a big watch. Also, I'm showing this on camera for another reason. These VODs here are expiring. None of these things are being removed from the back end by me. These are expiring over time as a natural progression of the Twitch system. For the same streams, you can go to live, and you can find these if you look for them based on that same time sequence. So, you go back, you look for Once to Gardening. We're looking for a stream that is 4 hours, 53 minutes, and 30 seconds long. Right there. 4 hours, 53 minutes, and 29 seconds long. Should be exactly accurate as of 11 days ago. Witnesses.
I mean,
And it is. In this situation, comparative to this being the debate, the same way it was for him and him, if someone were to come to me and say, Carl, you're an evil, nasty bigot, how dare you have the things on this server, you should be punished for the crime of talking in a video game. I'm going to say, okay, so here's some preparation material. And they say, I got a preparation, I'm ready right now. I'm like, alright, so, did you hear what we said during this day, 11 days ago, when this debate was had here, doing this, and this? I'm going to walk them down from the position of their elevated anger to a position where they can be calm. Because, number 2, on top of number 1, it checks for people and how their mindset is going into the conversation. 2, it checks for people and how they communicate themselves during the entirety of the function. There is a point in that conversation where, because Thick Ass was present for it, that my microphone was cut. Not because I was doing anything precipitously, but because Eros was constantly trying to interject. Because he knew he was dead to rights. In a normal conversation, a normal discussion, you need to have a moderator of some type. Somebody as a third party. Because if you're hosting it to yourself, you can easily take things out of context. And you can definitely make people look like they're arguing for something that they're not. And it needs to be on a stage and a clear where each person's audience, because they're going to have their own camps if they're both streaming the situation. You have a third place where people can hear the arguments being presented and the point being made and understand what is the point, what are they trying to get across, what are they trying to communicate, this, that, and the other. As I already said before, both yesterday and earlier in the broadcast today, Sneeko dog-washed Charlie, because Sneeko hit all of his points and controlled the conversation, and Sneeko fell down on the wayside because he finally had to have an opinion of his own that he was hopefully uninformed of. This kind of presentation directly kills any momentum and energy, because the third thing it checks for is it checks to see the narrative of the event. If there's a narrative that goes along with the presentation of the debate, the person who's going to be the most prepared and the most even-headed, even if it's a debate where both sides are fiery, it's the same comparison, recently done, as to that debate between Biden and Trump. Even if another person is all over the place, if the other person is literally incapable of finishing their sentences and can't remember what the fuck they just said a sentence ago, then that is the narrative that people are going to walk away with. They're going to walk away with the narrative, damn, Carl dog-walked Eros in that conversation, and yet they still came to the understanding that, even if Carl is supposedly a character, he's still somebody who's even-handed and fair. He doesn't just do things just to piss people off and annoy people. He's actually somebody who is kind of tired and annoyed that there are people going out of their way to make it somebody else's problem that they're dealing with problems they don't need to deal with because they can't deal with the shit that they're doing to other people. It is an annoyance and a hilarity that has to be understood and seen for all to enjoy. Same thing with Trump, same thing with anyone that can do a debate. Because the Destiny-styled retardation, Mr. Banali, and Destiny character swap as a part of the League of Politics, that kind of shit is only fun for a spectacle. That no one treats those situations seriously. So in this, Mr. I am a very big figure who talks about things. This is serious for you. This is something people view as this. This is something that's going to reflect back on you if you're not able to communicate well. And you did not communicate well at all, whatsoever. All of the examples that you could use to provide, and you have a single fucking one. But you're going to tell us about how, man, listen, this argument's really bad. Okay? Explain why they're bad. Now that you've come all the way across here, you didn't say it during the debate, you only had it come up during the Cope stream, present to me. Show me, Charlie. Show me why. Show me why. Show me why.
Different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously, I was unprepared for a fucking debate. So I entered into the Thunderdome and we started talking. I made it clear that I found his statements on the age of consent and children marrying adult being fucking hideous. Absolutely revolting. And then he started arguing about, well, what is a child? We must define a child, it's not actually being under 18, it's all a bunch of hooey. And I really think if you have to start arguing about, well, what technically is a child, you're already way too far gone. Like, that is so fucking weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneeko says that he is okay with people that are age 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18 or older. There are marrying globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, and I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Even get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying that's 18. That's child. And I'm telling you, that's not even the definition of the word.
What is the number? It's supposed to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
Do you see why that's a problem? No. If there's no defined, so why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds,
as you just said, it changes. What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent, can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
we're not talking most likely, just say it.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready, Why should I stop? 12 years old. At 12 years old, if the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy. 12-year-old being physically mature. If that's the only line that actually makes sense. Yeah, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature. Even though they literally can. Even though puberty actually defines that, it's fine. I don't believe so. I was 14.
This is the reason why he beat you in the debate. Physically mature. Mental, Charlie, mental. People who are not mentally mature have to handle this. This is why the staged ages are based on the age of reason. Something I actually did explain yesterday. The age of reason being the point where I can expect you to mentally be able to handle all the pressures and the expectations that come with that job. Just like you tell somebody in the presentation of things that they have to deal with, how they have to deal with things, and the presentation what they're arguing for and what they have to discuss. You still, at the end of the day, have to be addressing these things on the basis of things that you have to discuss based on their mental capacity to handle them. For example, if you can't handle the mental capacity to understand the reason why this is such a situation that falls on Charlie, you should not be involving yourself in it and be involved in it, because you are not directly helping yourself should you try to talk about it in those capacities to any means that could be discussed or concerned to others in any capacity to help them, because you can't. There's no way that you could. You're effectively going to destroy your own ability to expect it. It's very much, yes, Cradle, it's very much, I should have said this hours ago. Because ultimately the problem is, them being physically mature means nothing. Having mentally able to understand this man is your husband. You and him are going to make a family. You may or may not become pregnant with his child. You may or may not give birth. Or is your body able to handle that? Do you know if your body is ready and able to handle that? Do you know that's what's going to happen if you become sexually active? Especially without protection. These are the things that you should have said. These are the things you should have argued. And you should have held him to the fire and said, no. We're not talking about religious standards in a type of religion in society. Do you think that this makes sense mentally of a person's relative maturity at this age, for this to happen? Not physically, mentally. Are they mentally able to handle it? You didn't. Hold your L.
Once. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married? If you were physically mature, yes, I would. Okay. Really? If you're 14, yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would. No, we're talking adults. You keep going back to that as adult. I meant physically. I told you my definition. I told you the definition.
And that's the same problem. The other problem. You couldn't hold him on the example of what you consider to be a child and an adult. The point at which a child goes through adolescence and comes out a fully formed adult, or can be expected to handle adult accountability, is the age of reason. But unfortunately, the age of reason is not the age of reason that you can debate and depend on a single thing. It is not something that you can ascribe to, that's my normal, that you can ascribe to by setting a hard number, because you can move the number wherever you want based on culture. Western culture, where we expect an adult to be, the age 18. Why? Because that's when we consider them legally able to stand representation in trial as an adult. But we can try somebody earlier as a child if they have done a heinous and criminal act that extends past what a human child should have the capacity to imagine. That's why when you see child serial and spree killers, they're being tried as adults because they have criminal mentality. Criminal mentality usually dealing with gang violence, and not just the African Americans, but the Hispanics, and the minor, and the minorities, and even the whites. If they have the capacity to do this shit, they're going to be held to the accountability standard of it. Because if you're old enough to do the shit, you're old enough to stand trial for the shit. Then, you go across the pond, and you deal with European nations. 16 is the age for everything there. Why? Because a 16-year-old is getting different educational standards and a different cultural standard for what they can be expected to do. Eat, drink, shit, piss, do narcotic substances at your leisure, all the age, at the same age that in America, you're first given the ability to drive. Here in the States, there's not a French word equivalent for it. But in the States, the statement for that kind of a child is a latchkey kid. It's somebody that at a young age basically had the ability to come and go from their house as they please. They weren't being let into the house or being pushed out of the house by the helm of the parents. They were going and they were coming whenever they wanted to because they were expected to be able to handle the responsibilities that came with it. They can drive a car, they can go to work, they can go to school, they can get off from school and then go into work. They can do dual enrollment to go prepare for secondary education at a college or university of their choice. They can be able to do that dual enrollment while doing all of those responsibilities, while still being able to hold down a job position. Maybe even working in a position in the college or the university to pay for their tuition, whether it be out of school or it be on campus, in-state. This is the arguments that you should have made. Because if you keep saying a child is 14, but what if they mature and they become sexually active and capable of birthing or spawning at the age of 16? It's nebulous. It's nebulous. At the very least, you should have gone to 18 and then argue this basis on whether or not you expect that child to be there. But it shouldn't have been based on, well, here's an example of a situation. You should have been, no, here's a case example of something that actually happened. Here's a case example of something else that fucking happened. Here's a case example of something else that fucking happened. And all the many ways those stories and situations led to you being involved in the way you had to be involved and the way that they were involved. You should have pulled on when you got to the case example of transgenderism and transtrenders and transitioning surgeries, top surgery, bottom surgery, the clip, the click, the kip, the snip. You should have been able to discuss all of it with the example of, let's talk about what happened to adults. Then let's talk about what happened to Jazz Jennings. Let's talk about what's probably going to happen to Desmond Naples, Lactitia. Let's talk about the people who have been politicized. Let's talk about the people who should have been brought in because their parents or their mother thought it would be a great way for them to get caught on the internet. Let's talk about the people who did the shit because they actually wanted it. Let's talk about the detransitioners. Let's talk about the people who got pink pilled into the shit. Let's talk about the groomers who pink pilled those people into it and brag about it in places like the subreddit /egg IRL. Let's talk about the people who brag about the shit, like Keffels, Clara Sorrenti. Let's talk about the people who do the shit because they claim they just want to do it to fit in and don't actually have dysphoria. Let's talk about those examples. Let's go through the things that we know have happened. You didn't go there. You didn't. It wasn't in your mind. Say it's because you wanted to give him humanity. Say it's because you were unaware. You didn't say it. You didn't say it. And you certainly wouldn't have said it with the energy that I am right now. So anything you were saying, anything you were showing me, cope, cap, cope, seethe, sneed, feed, felt it.
The definition, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult, you got a mustache, ready to get married, fine, okay?
Unironically saying a 14-year-old adult, I think would make most sensible people want to puke. There's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about, like, overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the longest time, this and that. But the
I already talked about that as well. That is irrelevant.
whole thing was like pulling teeth, and it was fucking painful. And I think it's extremely alarming.
Because the way you went about it made it painful and it's pulling teeth, because the moment that you have him, by regards, where he's incapable of agreeing to any standard that he sets himself that you get him to agree to, you should be able to remove. And that's ultimately what he did to you.
Perspective to have. Unironically calling a 14-year-old and 12-year-old mature enough for a marriage, those are middle schoolers. Like, holy shit. I think that is extremely concerning to be advocating for something like that. Like, would Sneeko be okay if his best friend ended up marrying a 14-year-old? He certainly shouldn't be. No one should be okay with something like that. Like, that's fucking terrible. That is actually terrible. But now, since I wasn't, like, holding into this topic or making sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about, it went all over the place with a ton of different things. But the big one, and this is what most people are focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut off. Is it okay if a 9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes. I've talked about this on stream many, many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the...
No, he was not being hyperbolous, because it was something that he defined multiple times. He walked you through it, and you walked through the doors to qualify it and quantify it as something that you believed was rational and sensible as an approach. And that's the reason this blew up in your fucking face. You didn't do your research on the topic, on what he was discussing. And through your hyperbole, or your hyperbolous belief of his hyperbole, you screwed yourself.
The entire subject of transition. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay down the operating table and just snip your whole fucking knee off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using the...
No, because it wouldn't be the process of transitioning. It's the fact that some medical doctors, especially if they give information, sometimes falsified, sometimes sped through, because they're under so much duress and pain from not being perceived as the gender that they want, they need to have the surgery now. That's what the context was there, Charlie.
This over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it, because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18. Like, you actually have to go out of your way to be that stupid on the topic than you would just spending a couple of seconds looking it up. There are...
But you see, you didn't look it up. You didn't make it clear. You didn't make that clear to every person who was involved. You didn't communicate that you can't even get the surgery until you're 18, so what are we talking about? And then show examples from law books. People are not there to be fully already initiated. You have to make your case to the people who are there and listening. Because the moderator needs to have it laid out to them just as much as other people do. I feel like making some ramen. I'll be right back. I return. As I said, it's not the job of the audience to know about the argument. It's your job to inform them so that they can be able to use the information about what you argued for.
Very rare cases where someone under 18 has had that surgery performed. That's not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that. And I'm also not afraid to admit that I am not the most educated when it comes to transitioning. I'm not someone that has a ton of knowledge about the subject to be speaking on it in a really in-depth manner. But even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand.
So why didn't you say them? Them having access to the digital library Alexandria means nothing if they ain't got some on the Dewey Decimal System.
Long process. And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And I didn't think that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common because I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation. And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous. I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate. This is not something that's in my skill set, which of course.
So why did you do it? Why did you continue it?
There's some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic. It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneeko was spouting about the age of consent. I don't know why I thought this was like an argument to try and make, but I brought up sports in this subject. And I was going to try and elaborate on it, but didn't at all. What I was going to try and say is that when a kid gets interested in a sport, they'll talk to their parents about it, they'll research the sport, go through the process of learning about it. And when it comes to transitioning,
that's not how most people do it. Usually it's the parents that do most of the research and then help negotiate what the child wants as their intention, because that's what adults and parents that have guardianship over a child do.
Still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer. Like it's not what I was trying to get at, but because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's what people have harped on a lot. And I get it. Like I said, I am not a debater. Like I didn't go in here expecting a debate, so I had nothing prepared here for this inundation of outrageous questions and tangents. Like there was a point where Sneeko was trying to get me to say white power. Like the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was without a doubt probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people, and I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneeko's perspective on the age of consent. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him. I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been shy about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing that. To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with, like at all hours. Like I am in like this human centipede of eating someone's ass while having my ass eaten with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months. I feel where if I talk about something, it's a problem, even if something is cut and dry as like Cody Co having sex with a
17-year-old being bad. I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where, regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence-sitting, enlightened centrist cuck, this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. But because everything is so inflammatory and charged online, it's being perceived in the last, I'd say like the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down the middle to soak up as much as possible. Like it's all this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And I just don't understand how it's become so incendiary where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special. And my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about and I talk about it. I am legitimately just an average, well, below average height guy who's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just...
But you have been for years. It's just that they were never presented as truly your opinions. They were presented about your take on the situation happening in front of you, as a member of the people standing around the bonfire of garbage that was being burnt. Now you are involved in something that's being burnt on the pyre, and people have an opinion about how you were doing it. I'm sorry, but that's the consequence. I'm so sorry, but that's the consequence. It is what it is, Charlie. It is what it is.
Being myself, that's all this channel ever has been. And now it becomes super controversial to do that if it's not like, you know, picking sides on everything, it seems. And it's very frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me having fun. And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation. Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun, because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, you know, more quirky. It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently, it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. If that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day. Now I know, call the ambulance, get some french fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like anytime I go live, most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space or...
And because that's your size and that's your thing and that's your needs.
Some other like extremely negative thing going on. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off, so I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like, it's not happy, it's all very sad, bad stuff. And
yeah, so you should probably learn how to have done that before that happened. Your choice, your action, but bro, sometimes there's some news stories that if people are not willing to write it down and present the shit to you, if they don't request and pay you to do it, you should only be looking into it because you have an interest in talking about it.
And it's been making me not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'll be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm gonna go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last like 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynet. It'd be things like shooting a potato with a tennis racket to see if you can make french fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm gonna go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah.
Ding ding dong ding dong. So there's his Coke video. Now we can now properly react to harmful opinions.
Or older. I'm talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, and I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s and adult?
He fairly characterizes Sneako's views, and that continues with a couple of minutes of clips of Sneako saying what he said Sneako said. So what's the problem? He said something and then backed up what he said with minutes of footage. In a vacuum, sure. If the video were just Sneako bad, fine. Charlie gives us the Sneako's a freak clip show in preparation to tell us what he said in that discussion. And do note that I specifically say he tells us what he said. For Sneako, he'll give us 2 minutes of clips to prove that his characterization is accurate. Nice. 0 seconds of actual footage of what Charlie said. That, ladies and gents, is a red flag. If someone shows you what someone else said in a debate, but only tells you what they said, you should go and check what really happened. It's probably not quite what they're telling you.
The big one, and this is what most people have focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut off. Is it okay if a 9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes.
2 issues with this already. It might look like he's biting the bullet. Oh, I said yes to this obscene question. But he is simplifying things in a way that lets him make up a little believable story for you. Problem 1. That is not the only thing Sneako asked, and it is not even the first thing Sneako asked regarding childhood transition. And problem 2. Charlie said a lot.
Harmful opinion is harmful to your sanity. He causes you direct psychic damage by showing you the truth of people being stupid, and it reverberates back through your mental cerebral synapses until they collapse from the sheer mental agony.
Not more than just Yes. Before we get to that, I'll let him speak a bit more first.
I talked about this on stream many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay down the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it.
If you fall for this, I don't know what to say. With regard to cutting the dick off with scissors, yes, that is hyperbole, but it is still describing sex reassignment surgery. And while one could use the idea of getting your dick cut off with scissors as a metaphor for transition as a whole, we know Sneako wasn't doing that, because even before that point, he was referring to the elements of transition individually, and he is clearly pushing towards more and more extreme things to see what Charlie's okay with. Apologies if I've missed an earlier mention, but as far as I can tell, scrubbing through it again, this is the first question Sneako asks about childhood transition.
If somebody can have, okay, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy, can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
parents are okay with it, and you're okay with it, I think that's totally a family decision to make, yeah.
Okay.
Did Charlie think hormone therapy was hyperbole? That Sneako was talking metaphorically and not actually referring to children being given, for instance, puberty blockers?
Correct.
Worth noting as well that Charlie's answer here might also tick off the tranoids. As a condition of these things being allowed is parental consent. They're not a fan of that, Charlie. It's life-saving care. You have to give it to the child whether the parents want it or not. So immediately after this, Sneako escalates.
A child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
He adds cutting the penis off to the already made list of things a child might have done to them. Now, Charlie, in his spin video, is very keen to remind us he's not a debater. He wasn't ready to enter the Thunderdome. Oh, it's so extreme. You can't think that fast at the speed of Sneako.
I was unprepared for a fucking debate.
Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and say, regardless of your interlocutor, regardless of the format, someone slips in mention of cutting a kid's dick off, as an addition to the list of things we've established you're okay with, you can be expected to at least say, hold up a second. Charlie does not say, hold up a second. In fact, he pauses, thinks, and then presents an argument that would justify cutting a child's cock off.
A child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
No, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So, but it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Take the other party out of the equation.
I'm gonna put my neck on the line here, okay? You can argue against child marriage without also justifying child mutilation. You don't get points for your opponent being wrong if you are also wrong and fail to argue effectively. But more importantly, Charlie is given a list of things that could be done to a child. His response is to characterize them as personal decisions as opposed to bringing someone in from the outside. They are very obviously discussing those treatments and those effects on the body. They are not talking about a child maybe talking to a doctor and then when they're 18 having procedures done. Charlie's characterization of their argument is very obviously not accurate. In fact, immediately following from that last clip, we have another example of why we know Charlie is mischaracterizing things.
If I'm 16, and I personally want to marry this girl. She's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it. You're saying, I can't do that. We're both consenting, I'm ready to go, I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that's like one's a pedophile. But if then, the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
Again, while Sneako is obviously engaging in hyperbole, it's not an exaggerated description of a kid starting to talk to a doctor. It's an exaggerated portrayal of someone rapidly pursuing sex reassignment surgery and hormone treatment. It is also technically a hypothetical because he asks Charlie.
That's a society that makes sense to you?
Doesn't actually matter if you infer that that's Sneako's description of society as it is, because he's asking Charlie if that scenario makes sense to him. But even if you infer that that's Sneako's characterization of the world we live in, you say no, and then you can follow up with, and plus that's not how things work. This is not big brain 200 IQ debate strategy. What you don't do if you disagree with that world and don't think it reflects the one we live in is this.
That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has complete. Yep, I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
And yet again, Charlie provides an argument as to why it makes sense to him and he supports it. He argues extreme, total bodily autonomy. This is not an argument in favor of a child being allowed to start pursuing a pathway to treatment with a doctor. This is a, yes, you can cut your dick off argument. If he didn't think Sneako meant what he was saying, he wouldn't have responded with this argument.
I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it.
People are falling for this video. To be fair, that little clip I played is referring to a future thing he responds to Sneako saying, but that just highlights the point. Charlie is lying massively by omission in his video.
Yes, and in any case, the lie of omission is still a fucking lie, which means nail him to the fire.
Let's help him out though. Let's play ball. Let's skip to the part Charlie actually talks about in his video. In this clip, they're still arguing about the distinction between a personal decision versus one that brings another person in.
A 16-year-old can't be making this decision on this adult who is convincing them that I am the right choice for you for life.
Right, but a 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that that 4-year-old doctor can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make, doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Weird. In his newly posted video, he says his only response was yes. He also made it sound like this question came out of nowhere. It very much did not, and is part of a pattern of Sneako making him bite bigger and bigger bullets. You know, oh, a 16-year-old can't marry a 21-year-old, but they can do this, or this, or this, or this when they're 9. I was already convinced at this point that Charlie was not confused. He didn't think Sneako saying cut the dick off being a bit more extreme meant Sneako must have just meant maybe talking to a doctor. No, he knew Sneako meant bottom surgery. Yes, it's more of an inversion than a snipping off, but that's the element of hyperbole. Oh, and on top of all this isn't really the kicker. The clown show only starts after this point, and it becomes explicitly clear that Charlie is also discussing a surgical procedure. He is not confused.
So then, why is it that bringing someone else into that marriage, why does that then make it wrong?
Because it could be an adult with a child, which is that is an unacceptable dynamic under every possible
In the doctor's office, in that gender therapy forever, it's still an adult and a child cutting off the penis, Moise.
You are not living with that fucking doctor. You have made a decision.
You're living with the decision of that doctor to cut the penis off. It's still living with the decision of another person too.
And that's life. You live with decisions. Some people might regret it, sure. But with this...
Regret what, Charlie? If you thought it was just a metaphor for starting to
Regret what? People can regret and detransition from the lifestyle of being another sex. That's what detransitioning is about. Ryan Barnes now known under the name K-Shippa, formerly Rival Madrick and a bunch of other things, is a detransitioner. For those who don't know who I'm talking about, I'm talking... I need Twitch directly, I don't need my Twitch backlogs. I'm talking about this person. Oop. Bop. Bop. This. This is Ryan Barnes, also known as K-Shippa. They specifically, basically play Apex Legends. That's all they do. All they do is play Apex Legends. And as you can see, even though she's not that kind of a person, with a dying deep-ass voice, all of their VODs, subs only. I wonder why that might be. Maybe we can go find videos that will demonstrate their viewpoint and will tell you how they are. Let me see if any of the videos were really, really far back. I'm trying to find the old VODs. Nobody, she did not take them down. Ah, there we go. There we go. All the way back. All the way back. All the way back. All these videos here talking about their detransition. Why I transitioned and why I was wrong. Detransition changes. The good, the bad, and the ugly. My skincare routine with Dolores. My experience with planned pregnancy. My detransition video responding to your comments. Detransitioning. My story and what I wish I knew. Piercing videos when they decided to use mask haircut. The fairy cut era. Wig era. All these things. The tongue split. Changing their updates. Life accounts updates. Their opinions about transitional athletes. Them after detransitioning for a while. Ryan's been through has been through a lot of it. All of this led up to their eventual transition and changeover to them coming out about how they got over their asexuality and how they got a boyfriend, how they updated their channel again, and how they're starting to get more into streaming, how they start doing things with videos. All of this does not happen without all of this down here. When he says that, what he is actually saying, what Charlie is actually saying is, what people never regret this, and if they do, that's just the thing. I believe that she is one of the ones that were pre-op, and she never went through with it. However, she did go through with hormones, and her voice is deep as fuck. When, you know, she chooses to use it. But even then, bro, even then, this being the perspective that you actually have to deal with and work with, well, let me just demonstrate how your voice has changed. Let's use that example.
Howdy guys, I'm back. I got a video for you. I haven't really done a video about this, you know from the oh, this things are going to change back and what things aren't. Like, I was so desperate for information, I was just looking up everything. And not that that's and everything, was that everything else will change but your voice. Your voice, you fucked it up, it's permanent, it'll never go back to the way it was, you know, your stuff like that. And which was generally the gist of what I had seen and looked up, and that's kind of what made me not want to detransition, because I was like, well shit, like I don't want my voice to be stuck like this forever, like there's gotta be a way to fix it. And I just got so wrapped up in my own head about that, and I was so freaked out, like I said, that I almost just didn't detransition, because I was kind of like, well, I'd rather pass as a guy, which I was, than detransition to a female or back to a woman and just not pass at all and deal.
And that is, in reality, the truth of Charlie's arguments. People like Ryan should just deal with it forever and just be stuck living in something that they thought they wanted, but they actually, after living it, didn't actually want to do forever. Right there. There's one example. I got millions I can pull on. Even including one that people probably are familiar with. Milo! Not that Milo. Milo Stewart. They went through with their transition shit, and they also became crestfallen. Put me in, coach. I could argue this shit day in, day out. I could argue it. Ooh, me. Yes, I can. There's the problem. There's the price in the pudding. There's the truth of the matter. That happens because he doesn't know how to argue shit.
Discuss things. Regret. What? Live with what? If you didn't think he was talking about surgery.
I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. You're living with the decision of that doctor to cut the penis off. It's still living with the decision of another person too. And that's life. You live with decisions. Some people might regret it, sure.
Not buying it. Part 2 of his defense that he didn't understand what was being said is this.
Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18.
Did you know that God's hand comes down from the heavens to stop such things occurring, so you can't even discuss it hypothetically or commit to your support of it potentially happening? Or, here's a better one. Sneeko will be okay with a 12-year-old who's physically mature and financially independent, I guess, marrying an adult of any age. Oh, but we can't judge him for that because, hey, that's illegal, so it doesn't matter that he advocates for that. It can't happen. So Sneeko must have been using hyperbole. He must have actually meant something else, right? That's how it works. Yeah. Charlie's defense of himself is predicated on not believing it's possible someone could mean something if they are advocating or saying they're okay with something that's totally illegal. When the whole point of him talking to Sneeko is that he believes Sneeko is advocating for a change to the age of consent, and that Sneeko says he's okay with things that are currently illegal. Therefore, that he engaged with Sneeko at all is proof that he does not believe this defense of himself.
Yeah, like, you actually have to go out of your way to be that stupid on the topic than you would just spending a couple of seconds looking it up. There are very rare cases where someone under 18 has had that surgery performed. That's not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake.
He's taking an L, but it's a very, very small, fraudulent L compared to the one he should actually be taking.
I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way.
I'm aware I'm repeating myself now, but I feel it bears repeating. That's not what happened. The hyperbole was describing the surgery as cutting it off with scissors. He was asking you, hypothetically, are you on board with a 9-year-old having that surgery done? Charlie didn't let Sneeko off the hook when he said, oh, as a Muslim, I follow the laws. It wouldn't happen. It would be so rare for a child to be ready at that age to try and wiggle out of biting any bullets regarding his position on child marriage. Charlie understands hypotheticals when they burn other people. Anyway, he goes on to astroturf over reality. Say, my public position has always been, a kid can start thinking about it and maybe talk to a doctor, but then blah, blah, blah. Just program the millions of people who will watch that totally ignorant of reality and believe what occurred is what he said occurred, as opposed to the truth that he took pretty hardline positions and made arguments to back it up that only makes sense if he was taking those positions. There is one little cute nugget I want to point out as a bonus at the end, though.
It is a long process, and I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them.
Wait, reach the age? Charlie, you coward. What age is that?
That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age.
That age? Again, can you put a number on that? Charlie was so keen on nailing down numbers in that Sneeko debate. I mean, you mentioned a sec ago that currently you have to be 18 because of the law or whatever.
Considering that the age would be the law, I would presently and recognizably expect him to say, if he was pressed on that answer, what is that age? That it'd be 18. But of course, this does not do with the fact of how did they learn about it and how did they come across this. Were they arguing this position because they said to their parents, I have a secret that I need to tell you that I've been hiding for years, blase, 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 or the thing I said earlier, did you only learn about it because you got pink pilled on AGRL and other people who wanted to pink pill you?
But now we're talking about your thoughts. What's the number?
They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today.
So, the only position we have here is that, no, I didn't say a 9-year-old should get their dick snipped off. They have to be some age older than that. But I'm not going to put a number on it because if it's too low, I'll look like a sicko, and if it's too high, the trans people will come for me.
It's sad. Sad, 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 sad. Sad, 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 sad. Oh. But it is just another day out here in these Twitter streets. Gotta remember, absolutely anybody can get it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. And that's pretty much all the news that I had to present to y'all motherfuckers. So...
Ew.
Hello. We are coming hot off the presses off the finality of that and switching over to Once Human. Man... Some of these stories I had to talk about today were really annoying.
How's Path of Exile going?
I made a couple of point mistakes.
That dude's lighters level 4, bro. What the fuck?
I made a couple of point mistakes on my pathing tree, but I corrected them.
Where'd mine go?
This is a season that was made for...
That's bullshit. Did it just switch to someone else when I failed to capture it? I don't see it. I don't know, but that dude got a level 4 and we all got 3s. That's kind of bullshit.
In fact, I could probably go check my ramen out in the kitchen.
I don't see yours anymore.
Despite the nerfs that they made to a couple of auras, this is actually the first league where I'm considering making use of an Eternal Blessing.
What the fuck? What is that? What did this guy buy?
God damn, 7.3 gigabytes. An Eternal Blessing is a type of skill gem that gets added to aura gems. There's a bunch of auras in the game, depending on the archetype of the build you want to make. Since this is a physical build, the most common one that would easily be able to use is Pride. Traditionally, the biggest problem that usually comes with making builds is that some builds can be straightforward, like pick up the things that do the things you need. Just like in this game, that game has keywords. And for the kind of character that I'm making, it is a physical attack.
Oh, they added a searching thing for the skill tree?
Oh no, that's always been a thing. if you just want the straight TLDR, basically it's a gem that allows you to have a single aura with no mana reservation or health reservation, but you're only allowed to have one. The reason why that's big is that usually physical builds want to use 3 auras minimum, which is a damage aura and then 2 defensive auras. Usually, one to either disable ailments or ones to increase the base resistance of armor and their evasion rating, because it's an entropy-based dodge system. You will eventually take a hit, but when you do take that hit, you have the chance to completely avoid the damage of it. You have the ability to negate parts of its damage. If you have spell suppression, you have the ability to permanently or potentially avoid 50% of that damage and then further reduce that damage further by your armor ratio. One of the things that they ended up nerfing was the armor aura determination. So you were getting less points from it, and you were also getting a more multiplier of armor from it. Doesn't mean that's bad, it just means it is now a less favorable choice. But another thing that they did to the season, I think I told you about it before, was that they made endurance charges better, even though they did remove the ability to get elemental resistances from them when you have them. It actually now increases your physical resistance and your elemental.
Feel free to queue us up again.
And your
Hey, you want to do that same one again?
If you want.
I was gonna go to a different one.
I just meant like queue us up in general.
It
No, I won't.
It gives you the ability to reduce your physical and your elemental resistances. So having the stacks, which is extremely easy to do, because there's a unique in the game that you can get 2 of on your build, that only gives you 2 plus more stacks of endurance charges. But there's also things in the build that the more endurance charges you have, the more multipliers you have towards the bleed effect and other things like that. That it is a healthful replacement, along with new base items that have even more armor in them, that you can basically get thousands and thousands of armor, where in past seasons you would have had to have some kind of conversion ratio, where here you can just slap on the item, put in the charges, and you're getting an even better effect than you would have with the original auras. So, despite the pathing mistakes that I made on the right side of the tree rather than the left side, towards strength rather than dexterity, I just have to slowly, over time, fix the problem, and then the build will be definitely ready for maps. I stopped right to the last campaign quest, which is to kill Katava, because I wanted to do a little bit more power farming, because this season is a season where they actually introduced a feature from Path of Exile 2. You can have respecializations using gold, rather than just hoping and praying you get enough, this item called an Orb of Regret. It basically gives you a passive respect. It's a good feature, because this is basically a build, this is a league of building, as opposed to a league of farming or a league of trading. We're being expected that on this giant nerf patch and buff patch to melee, that we will experiment with builds and see how full health reservation will go. Because some of the builds need an armor buff, basically. They needed to have an armor buff, they needed to have better quality of life. And it's a quality of life change on top of a bunch of other things. I think it's going to be fine. I won't really know until I really set myself down and handle it, but yeah. Coming fresh off of that, I did that before stream, then I covered the news that I just covered on stream.
Player refused to join.
I'm still patching, so see about that. But I will be.
Yeah, that was a pretty big patch.
See you in the game soon. Because at least it's in something that I can do when I'm done for my.
Bro, some people's houses look so good, bro.
Yeah, they're really trying to win that contest.
Yeah.
Dude, it makes me want to buy that glass skin so bad.
I think the glass skin
$50 fucking dollars.
I think
the glass skin really should not count for that contest.
It shouldn't. Because by paying money to make it look good, they're basically incentivizing you to pay it, and the only way that it should be valid is that it's already in the game. It should have already been in the game, but it's not, so it shouldn't count. Pretty simple.
Ooh, I just got a formula from this shopping bag here.
Although, that guy spent all that money and doesn't have a fucking skin on any of his walls in his building. Fucking dumb.
Did you get a formula from that?
I haven't been started playing. I'm running up.
Try not to sing you Edward's voice.
No, I didn't get shit. Too busy staring at my daughter fucking trying to eat shit on a chair. I don't know how many times I've talked
I hope that's not literal.
No, like she keeps standing on the fucking chair and I keep telling her to stop and she keeps eating shit on it. And almost hitting her head, and I'm like, girl, she bust her fucking face open, I'm gonna be pissed.
You're ready for like 15 years of dental surgery then.
She bust her face? She's too... I don't even care about the teeth right now. I just care about her scarring her damn face. Teeth are fixable.
Who did what?
Actually, teeth under my insurance are 100% covered, all the dental procedures and braces, all that stuff. As long as they're under the age of 18, so...
Oh, it's fully covered, no copayment or anything?
I think the copayment is like $30. That's for everything.
The no Blue Cross Blue Shield didn't cover what they considered cosmetic dental, which was braces.
Yeah, I have PHP. I have a law enforcement insurance, or whatever they want to call it in Utah.
Here I am looting everything back there while you guys do all the work.
What are you looting?
There are chests back there. I got a couple more formulas.
Oh, there's... well, I don't... Yeah, I'm coming.
I just hit the snap button every few minutes. Oh, hey, something to loot.
I'm brain farting right over here because I'm thinking about them stocks I bought. I'm like the worst person to play the stock market, but I know that Nvidia and AMD are gonna be $400 a share in 10 years, so... I don't get shit from looting. Like, I never get formulas. I've only gotten formulas from that one chest from the last one.
The fact that it's RNG is still a bit iffy, but
I think that RNG shit's broken.
It would be really...
They need to do a system where if you don't get it every so often, they guarantee one in the next one.
An entropy-based system?
No, dude, they just need to go and make all the motels the same and not have fucking one motel with 12 damn filing cabinets. Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, you still could get nothing if they did that.
I suppose.
True, but at least you have a chance. Right now, you don't really have a chance. Like,
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that guaranteed system they need to do.
Yeah, they really want you to use the designer workbench, which they should have never added to the fucking game.
Can't use that though if you don't get a blueprint.
Yeah, it's so dumb. You're silly.
The way that it is with the amount of repeated rewards, they should have been putting these formulas inside the Hinix and the Morphic chests, and they didn't. Outside of the Stella Planula, I was so tired of seeing gingerbread houses. I wanted a fucking recipe, and the few times where there are some recipes, those are unique ones, and not repeated ones. So, it's like maybe 15 furnishing items total, throughout 150 plus odd Morphic hunts and hidden ventures. It's not a good design. Granted, I don't blame them for the open world design, because they're following the philosophy of something.
I got a blueprint farm where somebody's got majority of the blueprints, but you have to do it every 4 hours on the dot, and you have to relog and log back in, and it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it doesn't... The system as it currently exists, it does not reward people
It was funny, because I actually went in someone's base, and I was like, damn, he's got every fucking blueprint, lucky you. And I looked up the video, and I thought it was the same dude. The houses were almost identical.
It's a system that definitely doesn't benefit the kind of people who are playing the play sessions and hours that I do, which I'm not playing for that, so that's the only like saving grace. But the fact that it's not even there as an opportunity further de-incentivizes me from doing it. Where
I just think it's bullshit that they have skins on everything and you can't unlock them. So.
Definitely should go inside that 4th fucking survey if they even do one. I think we have...
You didn't hit the button? Oh my god.
What, the gear crate? What?
No, I thought this dude had already grabbed it and he was running back through the lasers. I was like, bro. Look how everyone's doing Prime Wars. I ain't doing that shit. That shit's so fucking laggy. We're waiting until Nightmare comes out to make my computer freak out.
I still gotta do some of the easy ones. Pretty much ended up doing them in reverse.
That will be later towards around 7 p.m. EST. What time is it? It is?
They're doing one right now.
1:42. I won't start preparing for that until 5.
Well, I could just shoot the lasers out.
Yeah, actually.
I already tried.
Another
Yeah,
maintenance
just
compensation? Okay. Thanks, Cam.
Should use some living armor. Fuck that.
There is that guy. Should be a dick. Just leave him.
Oh, it's this one. Right. Need to quickly get up and cover.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm moving. Holy shit. Can you get off my stairs? Thank you.
Once they fixed it, the icicles have to go up high in order to do anything. So if you go up high enough, you have cover from them.
Yes. You can still be hit by the gunners if you're where I think you are. At the top level that are over the rafters, across from the front door of the deviated fridge. But you should be safe from... Yeah, you should be safe from the AoE circle attacks. That hits you on the lowest level and the mid levels.
Let's see if I have any random shit left over from Leah.
Oh, motherfucker. Thought you were going to interrupt them there.
What?
I see. Farming, continuous farming. That means you're gonna have to have your fucking fertilizers prepared ahead of time. Fuck me. I might as well wait. It makes a different sound effect when you collect the shit right now. And they still have not fixed the visual bug of the missing deviated cabbage. So I'm just gonna take a screen cap of that.
Keep shooting the damn railing.
Yeah, I keep shooting the railing too.
That fridge is still fucking immune.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think we have to kill the other boss first, actually.
I don't even see the generators anymore.
Are you missing a generator?
No.
So you have.
Oh no, it's damageable.
It's okay. So there's okay. There, just to remind you, in case you had forgotten, there's 3 of them. On the first difficulty, on normal, you only have to break 2, but on the second difficulty, you have to break all 3.
I don't even see any of them though. It's like not loaded.
Do you see the blue wire that would be showing where the power generation is coming? Okay. It should be damageable.
I made an all-white skin for my gun. It looks good.
So it's invisible in here. Aww. No deviant.
What deviant do you get from this one?
I don't remember.
The jellyfish?
No, that's from PvP, I thought.
I have a jellyfish.
Yeah, but you get that from the not the cargo scramble. That's what's called.
Oh. It's in the season shop. Nothing. Nothing in the season shop. Let's see, phase 1. Should I buy a bed?
We don't get a door? Oh, there it is.
White patterned flooring. Oh, I don't have any. Unfortunate. Imagine that.
Highest total healing. I used a stim on myself twice.
How do you get this thing that this guy has? Did he pay for this?
What?
Like, does it not have like a theme and like a skin and all that shit? Play music for you?
I am not at the dungeon. I'm at my base.
Oh, I meant like when you get done and it shows everyone's damage and stuff. His shit says like MVP and it's like, oh, I learned and shit now.
Not that I know of.
It's like
might be the battle pass thing.
Maybe.
Maybe I have the battle pass. I think he bought something. I'm gonna go look. He bought a pack or something. Yeah, why can't we move that 89% off to the last skid? I think that's a great idea. I'll bet you nobody would complain.
It usually tends to be the way how they justify some nerfs and buffs. They usually base it off of how many people complain and then how many people don't complain. Although the problem is that most people will not ever not vote for self-buffs. So they end up having a system in place to try and correct for it. I know that's the biggest problem when it comes to things like OSRS votes, since you need to have a membership to vote, but membership is just as simple as either the $7 to just buy it straight up, or maybe about 2-ish to 5-ish hours, depending on whether or not you already have membership or not, to farm the money to get the objective gold. You usually have people that will just vote for buff, because, sad to say, some people are really bad at understanding that you can't not be powerful all the time. Now, games like, say, what is it called? Helldivers 2?
Shit, I love being powerful all the time. What you talking about?
In games like Helldivers 2, there's definitely an argument that the level of power should be attributable. So, when you have a game that has pretty much a very low premium farm system, there is no scaled rates for farming super credits when you're opening any kind of casket over in a map. You do not keep those super credits if you have to quit the mission or if you fail the mission. You have to succeed in farming, and you have to be capable of winning on the difficulty that's involved. They just made a game update for that game where they added a new difficulty, which is difficulty 10, on a system where you can go from 1 to 9, and 9 is already the most difficult, which is why it's known as the Hell Dive difficulty. Playing at that level is basically asking to get fisted. If a person can relatively be able to win that game at that difficulty level, which players like I could, but I'm a fucking sociopath, it is to be expected that those players probably need to have some level of balance. And they were, and have been, very good since, where they will give people a relative level of balance and a relative level of power. So, if a weapon was really weak and was underpowered, they would buff it. And then, if that weapon's interactions were really iffy, like something had shrapnel damage, but the shrapnel damage was actually causing memory leaks, remove the shrapnel part entirely, make it explosive, make it instantaneous hit scan, and also fix the lock-on problems that exist with something like the spear. Pretty much, that was what was done. But the way that most people go about it, to put it in terms of Path of Exile, because that's probably the best straight-up example I could give, you make a character, you roll a character, you equip your armor and your items, and with a small amount of investment, you're able to solo pinnacle-level uber versions of bosses. Basically, an uber being a higher difficulty version of the boss, but an uber is a higher increased version of the boss. So there's technically an... Oop, he disconnected. Satch.
Yeah, I think you rambled a little too much.
Hey, try to explain it to him. But still, you can't keep giving people power on power on power. So, like, for once human, you can't give people a level of power where status is 100% always weaker than weapon procs. Fortress Gunner is bad. Fast Gunner, depends. Bounce and Shrapnel are pretty much only capable of being good for whatever reason. Either because they get a high ratio, or they've got whatever to their buffs. The weapon statuses, because they take too much investment and fucking around to see which ones are good. The other ones are just relatively better. Static and Unstable Bomber are your go-to damage sponge burners. Burn can act as your continuous damage proc to keep killing enemies as general clear. Force Vortex is pound for pound the best uncontested CC locker in the game. You can't punish them because you decide you can't make them work. Like, that's not fair. If you're gonna scale the system, they have to be relatively similar. They need to have a relative similar level of investment. And when they're invested into, it feels good to play one. It feels good to play the other. And it never punishes you for having not played it right or not played it well. What we end up with right now is some of the builds are okay, and others are increasingly obnoxious. I think the Shrapnel build can have a very high potential of being obnoxious level of damage, because I'm pretty sure Last Valor is just that broken. Oh, they added all these... they added a lot of new sounds for you roll over things. But,
oh, you finally encountered that.
I was hearing it every now and again, but I was like, oh, it's just for the interactions on this. But, the Last Valor Sokar, 4% chance to trigger Shrapnel on hit. Criticals count as 2 hits. Criticals grab Shrapnel +1 for 1 second per hitting. Shrapnel crit damage 30%. Let's look at the formula. Keywords: Shrapnel. Upon hitting an enemy with a bullet, deal weapon damage of 50% on attack to a random hit. The element is the same as the weapons element. The additional crit damage can swipe greed points, and will decay with distance. I've said before that Shrapnel is probably one of the pound for pound better weapon proc effects, but in terms of what it can do, it's kind of bad in a capacity of, what is Sokar's capacity? 30. 30%, or excuse me, 40 to 30, because it depends on your max mods. 4% chance to trigger Shrapnel, and you get 2 procs when you hit. That's 4 to 8% chance to trigger between a bullet. Crit rate of 6%. In a magazine 30. That gives the magazine potentially 10 to 15% chance to trigger Shrapnel. You're going to definitely get modifiers to increase that capacity. But that potential is locked behind that 4% chance. In my opinion, it could be higher. It could be 10. 10 is okay. Because 10% in a magazine size of 30 with a crit percent chance of 6 is okay. But of course, we can crit amp to get across the line. But let's see here. Let's look at the Shrapnel weapons. Last Valor Frag. Bounce. Not relatable. Although, similar issue with Bounce on the Kumawink. Let's see here. Bullseye. Fortress Warfare. Power Surge. Fast Gunner. Unstable Bomber. Fast Gunner. Burn. Unstable Bomber. Fortress Warfare. Shrapnel and Frost. Bounce. Bullseye. Yeah, so it seems to me the only weapon in the game that exists amongst the legendaries for Shrapnel is the Last Valor. So that's a dichotomy that I guess can work, because you don't have to invest that much into it. Got a pretty decent fire rate. I'm going to look at the purples to double check, because I know there's some purples that have it. You've got the Dusty for the pistols, which is a 55% chance to trigger Shrapnel when you hit a weak point. Which means you're going to have to pair that with a Monarch weak point, because you're not going to get that without being able to directly hit something that's exposed, because most enemies don't actually have a external weak point. They have an internal weak point, which means you got to really, really aim. Task Gunner, Burn, Roast, DIV, MP S7 DIV Evo, 25% chance to trigger shrapnel, 35 mag, 850 fire rate. That's pretty fair. And then you get an increase of increasing shrapnel for 12 seconds by 80. And then if you hit a weak point, you get a plus point. You get a plus target +1 for 4 seconds. Why is the machine gun pistol, air quote, why is this SMG a better rate than the fucking legendary assault rifle? And it's not even a small magnitude. It's literally 4% chance to trigger on hit versus 25. Where did the extra 21 that should go onto that weapon go?
I just don't know how they're going to balance it, because they seem to be really accommodating to the player base. And if they introduce a nerf, people are going to complain about it.
I think the way that they've designed it thus far, it's more going to benefit the purples than the legendaries, because technically they're going to use this season to collect the data on which ones they think should probably be nerfed or buffed. They'll probably skew against the numbers on who used the most. I think that's reasonable, because the numbers skewing towards plus or minus goes down towards who uses too much. So if they see a bunch of corrosion builds, for example, if they saw a bunch of static corrosion builds using outer space and what I use, because I'm leaning on getting corrosion just cause. Hell, I have the crit top. I can make use of the shotgun. When I'm not in a place where I need my precision weapon, I can definitely make use of the shotgun. There's just no way to make it feel good to invest.
They fixed curved wallpaper.
Yay. They also added a bunch of weird sound effects to Medic's window and shit. That's fun.
Turn on whispers. Have fun with that one.
Oh, Milano Wanya! I like my frame rate!
Turn it on, run around where there's a bunch of them, and enjoy.
I don't know if this is going to be a loud sound effect, so I'm going to probably do that later off camera, but I'll take your word for it. Ooh, it's on everything. Even collecting items. I can get used to that. That's okay. I can deal with the swoon. I played Majora's Mask. It's not that big a deal. Carl said to himself, coping. Okay, let's take a looky-loo. I got 400 in the barrel. Corrosion is 8k. My armor build is complete, so I can switch my weapons out as I wish. This will definitely benefit Deadshot. A magazine of 18 can be worked around. I need to see how it really feels. If it's not that great, it'll be okay. It'll make for a better weapon on a different crit build. But I want to see how this magazine's counted, because I don't know if it counts the pellets or if it counts the actual click of your gun when you hit somebody with weak points. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That depends on how that works. If it works the way I think it should, which it should count the pellets as hits, then that's fine. Because that's how Burn calculated it for the double barrel.
Right, I need to go see if this exploit's fixed. If it's not, then I'm just gonna make it public. Where are you, Carl?
Inside of my fuck you island base for now. I'm doing my upkeep.
You have a truck or a trailer near you?
The Carl's mobile is still parked out at Blackfelt, though I'm thinking of bringing it back. Why do you ask?
I need to test something with it.
What is it you're testing?
Oh wait, I accidentally invited Milfy back to the party. Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. What are you testing?
You can rename other people's vehicles.
Oh, I think that's still happening, yeah. If you go to World 9, there should be a bunch of cars that you can go rename shit at.
Yep, I can still rename someone else's car.
Put in a patch note for it. Or put in a bug report for it.
I already did.
Okay. Chauffeur, who gets the pants which me over here for you?
Question is, do I make it a Reddit post on another account that can't be traced back?
Yeah, do what you feel.
It's one of those things that needs to get fixed quickly before someone really fucking abuses it.
Wait for it. Somebody will try it. Oh, well, you're starting the Prime War. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. What Prime War did you start? You started... White Cliff. I can't go to White Cliff. Solve that problem for me.
Why can't you go to Wycliffe?
Don't have to pass.
Oh.
I spend a lot of time playing directly. I don't always go to these random Prime Wars. Not on account of not trying, but just disinterest. I'd rather go explore. It makes the fucking shit sound more impressive. I mean, no lucky that.
Have you encountered the Whispers yet?
No. I'll just take your word for it for now.
I don't know what intern in their bright mind decided to make a sound effect for every loading whisper. The whispers weren't obnoxious enough as it is.
It was cooking something, but that something was some shit. Shrapnel seems good. It seems like you shoot gun and the bullet shoots more bullets. The way that it works is that shrapnel is actually, you hit the target and it fragments the bullet off and it has the potential chance to do more damage. So it's kind of like an instant effect, but it's not. God plus replace Indeed bolster. So look back at the blueprint again. Then go.
Oh, it's lovely. These trees are going to be in the way.
Then look at the effect. The way that it's calculated in the system, guys, is shrapnel is random unhit part. So the body part on the enemy, if it counts it as the head, it can't hit the same part. It can hit another part. It can maybe hit a weak point if it considers one, and it does do final calculation damage based on the distance of the body part.
Isn't that what bounce is supposed to do, though?
For this, it's on the same person. Bounce is anything else. So specifically, upon hitting a bullet with an enemy, bounce to hit a random enemy within 10 meters to deal weapon damage of 60. Whereas shrapnel is upon hitting an enemy with a bullet, deal weapon damage of 50 attack to a random unhit part of that same enemy. Shrapnel is basically the damage sponge equivalent of what static does. Whereas bounce is more the competitive example in status to unstable bomber.
I got 2 shrapnel mods. One says +1 hit, the other says +1 target.
You should be targeting on the same body part. And again, the way when they say parts +1, they never explain what the parts are. So these are really not good explanations, but this is the word as written in the keyword. I need more rubber.
Glad I can shoot through people.
Mm-hmm. I suppose I should spend my time between now and 5 o'clock actually moving to a new base.
Good luck finding a spot.
So you know for sure that Blackfeld oil fields in the area surrounding it is guaranteed to have polluted zones.
Okay. That's all the resources I want to use besides bullets on this. If they can't beat it, then they can't beat it.
Right. Food. I have cabbage to use.
God, he's only at 1/3 health left, and it's been 8 minutes.
Kappa. Finna have a good time. 15 speed enough. Lag. Oh, no, crash. Wow, that was my first ever crash. I turned the camera to the right and it died, like it stared at Slender Man. Ain't that about a bitch? Fuck me. Ah!
God. That was barely saved. Core's at half health. Oh, they broke the translation on the reward window again.
Which one?
For Prime War.
So everything's just in Korean or Mandarin?
Yeah. Oh, they changed what the Stardust event thing looks like, the reward box.
What do you mean by Stardust event?
Or, I forget what they call it, the Stardust Advent thing, the reward box.
Oh, Stardust Advent. That's right, we can click on the thing and see the thing. Okay, I don't know why they had to change it, but okay. That's fine. That's completely fine. And then this one is, yeah. Okay. Okay, alright, fine. That's whatever. Did you actually kill it?
Yeah, we did.
Cool.
Use more missiles than I would like to on it.
Close encounter Manimus. Me no like me no care. I do like that sometimes when you zoom all the way out on the map, it actually occasionally will show you current happening, whatchamacallits, public real-time recommendations for close encounter events.
I'm not doing the other ones with them.
So they're doing a marathon?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They don't have the right amount of damage for it.
I would question if they even have the missiles left. Well, you shouldn't do that, Carl. That's a toxic thing. Only toxic people think like that. Because, like, this is part of why I'm doing the ones that we're going to do later today.
Yeah, I'm saving the rest for that.
Yeah, I want to make sure that everybody gets over this margin. What's the point of doing these higher ones if nobody else is prepared for the higher ones or have the ability to go to the higher ones? It's a bit of a useless action. And also, we're gonna want to start capacitizing for that. What do you need to make your... Or is it just the base recipe for you when you make your biomass missiles?
Same base recipe.
You need gas, you need starter source, you need steel ingots. That means I need to go on a environment tour because I certainly do not have those materials. Storage batteries? No, not really. My supply of rubber is taking a massive hit. It's one thing to do. So that is all these dumbass passes to then do the refineries. That means reading the refineries and then traveling through those areas to find that shit. I can do that while I'm doing this.
Oh, what's for free, bot?
That's easy. That's fine.
Oh, yay. Lumberjack on Epic Games is free.
One thing that confuses me is I don't know why I still have the fucking, why I still have the quest objective materials for a couple of those, what are they called? Beevy's painting things. I thought they were going to remove that key item directly out of your inventory once the mission was done. But it and a couple of other ones from these other quests are actually still here. Let's see here. You've got...
I can't remember which ones I've done and haven't.
I've got the cultist treasure map. That's still here.
Some of it seem repeatable.
They shouldn't be. Aquabelle, which was for the person, the jellyfish girl that you take pictures for. And then the archaeologist's note, which is for an epitaph outside from I forget where. Yeah, that's still there. And then of course you're still getting Planua. So they gave us too much Planua. I can tell you that much. That we have too much of this currency. And I don't think you can buy anything else with it.
I mean, you get to keep it for the next season, so there's that.
I guess. Let's see this. Let's see this chest. He says we create 400. 400 is an actually okay price. Kind of.
I probably should reload my trunk with missiles.
Definitely should. I know I have to. Ooh, more tab things. Vehicle, camera, campsite, building, flashlight, cradle, summon V. Okay. Adding a different place for you to access those. So for all the people who are like, I don't know how to do it. I didn't do Monolith of Greed. I don't know how to summon my vehicle. There's that. I suppose that's okay. Don't think you need to have a flashlight button though. Old Bones Dennis.
What are you doing here? The mayor... Trent?
Oh.
He's a former Rosetta goon, and now he's brought in but you to know all of... Tell Trent, or not...
Man running into a wall like he's glitched out in a video game. They increased our weight capacity to 9,999? The fuck? That can't be true. That can't be accurate. Wait a minute.
They did that, then I'm just going to carry every missile.
I'm looking at my screen right now, and it says that I have 9,900...
Oh, you're bugged.
Yeah, that looks like a bug.
Next, stop.
When you upgraded the stations, you replaced both stoves, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Look down at my buff, I'm like, wait a minute, that's supposed to be 30 minutes. That says 45 minutes. Huh. Decent.
Actually, wait, go to your stoves and tell me how many buffs they have.
I can actually see it on the food. I see long-term stores, I see Kitchen Gourmand, and then there's a Chefsaurus Rex buff on the food too.
I forgot which of those comes from your base, though, which came from that. If you just hover over the kitchen set, it'll say if it has one or two.
I don't have either of these. I got rid of my long-term storage early on with a respect, so these are both yours.
Yes, can I help you? That's one way of putting it. You may have run into a man named...
You still can't use the drone if it's not your territory.
Leader of Blackfell's oil workers. He claims I took over Blackfell's and let in more outsiders than we can support. Now he's instigated a strike that's crippled the settlement. Trying to get an outsider like you to restore order would only kick up this hornet's nest. No, the only way this will end is if Dennis backs off.
Hey, sorry to butt in, but there's actually something I do think you could help with. My name's Pauline Holt, by the way. I run the settlement's restaurant. Why don't you meet me there and we'll discuss the problem?
Forbidden Island? That's what we call top lane in league. A Huey. What you want, Polly?
Good, you're here.
I teleport to the event.
Sound crazy?
The event's not here.
I think I know why the settlement's tearing itself apart.
Is it Manibus?
And now there's a vending machine following me on the minimap.
Real.
Kappa.
I swear he was real. But now, it's like he never existed.
Yes.
No one remembers him. This whole conflict between Dennis and Trent, I think it's related to the amnesia about my uncle. Oh yeah.
Don't see a tentacle.
We grew up together here before I moved to Greywater.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, if you teleport to a close encounter Manimus, there's a possibility it dumps you outside of the area as a precaution so that you don't load into the area without first going through the loading trigger.
Uncle Ted took me in after my parents died, but now it's like there's a gap where my memories of him should be. The only thing that keeps me from forgetting him entirely was a letter he left me. I keep it by my bed, so I'll see it every day when I wake up and remember everything I could recall. But I'm afraid even that might not be enough. there's more to it than just memory loss. Everyone here is getting angrier, too. Like their grudges are the only things they can remember. Take Trent and Dex. They used to be super close, but now it's like their blood enemies. Something weird is causing all this. So, I've marked down any places I could remember with a connection to my uncle. One of them might be related to our troubles here. If you can check them out, I'd be glad to reward you for your help.
Reward me for my help? But I'm a spoken for man. I don't want no southern white girl.
Oh shit, I'm out of sniper rifle bullets. Oh fuck, I gotta use copper because apparently I got some of those left. Please stop moving your hand.
Ow. Evolution. Interesting. Okay, so that's a hard cap. Forbidden Island. Shan't my leg.
Ah, there you are. Heard what happened to you. It's like this. I need to do that to make friends, not unlike I have with you. There's Billy and Barry and Bruce, Vivian, Veronica, Vera, Kareem and Carl. Well, you get the idea. Plenty of contacts keeping me apprised of things. And before you ask, no, those aren't their real names. My contact, Dickie, says Rosetta's been conducting. I figured you'd want. That's the $1 million. How about turning metahumans into metadeviants? Really quite industrious. Double-edged sword, that proposition. Heck of a gamble. Betray you? Oh, yes, well, I imagine she ultimately. After that, it was just a matter of. Besides making you look foolish? Not too much. We? Ah, yes, I see where you. But tell you what.
Go to the ruins of Blackfell. And then this task, he's here. Search for clothes, for binge. Shrine. Walking. Man, these salesmen were not very well built and designed around vertical movement.
Where did you hear that? Someone claiming to be a mayfly. Well, Mary's a common enough name. Especially, I haven't been a member of Rosetta since Starfall 20, but I do know of one place that might be helpful to you. I'm completely sure. I know because I installed that terminal myself. It's set to. I trained as one, but when I worked for Rosetta, even Rosetta's resources were limited by Starfall. Unless that here, take my fingerprint and eye scans.
You just have those on hand. Just got your fingerprint and eye scans just ready to go. Like Beats McGee trying to beat a case. Okay. That's weird, Trent. But okay. Itchy face. Excuse me. I'm gonna go call a friend of mine and see if she's up. If not, I'll be right back.
Alright.
Boop-a-doo. 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 What's up, girl?
Yes.
I was just going to say what's up.
Oh.
I am not allowed to chat with you.
Well, I was gonna talk to you about because you were gonna stream today that Hux for Kamala stream. And I need to cut it down a little bit because it's got like a lot of, for some fucking reason they let it stream like an hour or two past when it ended, so I have to cut it down. I have to shower and shit, so we're probably gonna do it around like 5 or 6.
Okay, that's fine.
Cool.
Looks like an abandoned settlement. Whatever happened?
Did you want to hang out and talk until then?
We can get to the bottom of it.
I'm about to get in the shower now, actually.
Okay. I don't know how long you shower for, girl, so I don't know. I don't want to know, quite frankly. I already have to beat the "you would be nothing without her" allegations. I don't want to give any more credence to that than people already assumptively have. Either way, I'll let you go. Call me back when you're ready. The only small conflict I can see is that when I set to do the Prime War, she is basically about to get herself gussied up and ready for the day, and I'm assuming I will be sharing attention with that at the same time. That won't be iffy on my end to be able to regulate, but see what happens, because I know we need the shit. We have to get this shit done before we need to get this shit done before Monday. Because there will be so many people, if they haven't already gotten through, that they're going to be permanently behind. Let's head to the point that is located on the map. Find any who's living isolated in a desert. That's not that really big of a deal. Just normal streamer shit. Where's this guy? Get him away, Sandweevil. What the fuck? He was not digging on my screen. Okay, my total went back to normal. It must have been just 999 something of 99 because I was standing inside of a town union zone. This is the first time I've ever seen that happen.
If only it was a permanent bug.
Come on. It wouldn't matter because it would only be inside the area of the Union stronghold.
If only it was permanent.
MO. He moves from where he was there and then becomes a spawnable object. That's such a bad mission.
I'm glad you're here. 2 locals that live in this area being held at Rosetta's LEA research. Mr. Lowe said you'd be able.
Okay, so evolution is when you go to Lee. That's it's quite a mission objective. Quite a mission objective. That reminds me.